The silver chains burned like hellfire against Mia's wrists. She didn't scream. She'd learned years ago that screaming only made them laugh harder. Instead, she kept her eyes on the cobblestones beneath her bare feet, counting the cracks in the stone, focusing on anything except the jeering crowd that surrounded her in Shadowpine's village square. The square was the heart of their settlement, a wide expanse of fitted stones surrounded by timber buildings with thatched roofs. The main lodge loomed to the north, its carved wooden pillars depicting wolves in mid-hunt. To the east stood the Alpha's residence, a two-story structure with actual glass windows that caught the afternoon sun. Smaller cottages and workshops ringed the rest of the square, their doors thrown open so everyone could witness her humiliation. "Look at her," someone shouted from the crowd. The wolfless freak finally got what she deserved. A rotten tomato exploded against her shoulder, the putrid juice soaking through what remained of her servant's dress. They'd stripped her of the official uniform before dragging her here, another humiliation, another reminder that she'd never truly belonged. "Thief!" Another voice called out, and this time it was followed by something harder. An apple, maybe, or a stone wrapped in cloth. It struck her temple, and warm blood trickled down the side of her face. 3 years, Mia thought distantly, her vision blurring. 3 years of scrubbing their floors, hauling water from the well, tending their fires. And this is how it ends. The afternoon sun beat down mercilessly on the square, and the silver chains seemed to absorb the heat, searing deeper into her already blistered skin. She could smell her own flesh burning, a sickly sweet scent that made her stomach turn. But she didn't move, didn't struggle. What would be the point? The wooden post behind her was ancient, worn smooth by decades of use. How many others had been chained here before her? How many had stood in this exact spot, surrounded by their pack, and felt the crushing weight of betrayal? "I told you she was trash from the beginning," a familiar voice cut through the noise, and Mia's heart clenched despite herself. Ashley Winters stepped forward from the crowd, her blonde hair woven with silk ribbons, her fine linen dress pristine and white, a stark contrast to Mia's torn, stained clothing. The Alpha's daughter. The woman whose jewelry had allegedly been found in Mia's tiny cottage. The woman who had put it there herself. "My mother's necklace," Ashley continued, her voice dripping with false sadness as she addressed the crowd gathered in the square. "A family heirloom, passed down for generations. Worth more than this creature could earn in 10 lifetimes. And she thought she could just take it." "I didn't," Mia started, but her voice came out as a hoarse whisper, barely audible over the crowd's renewed jeering. "Speak up, thief!" Alpha Dane Winters bellowed from his position on the raised wooden platform at the edge of the square. He sat in a carved oak chair that was trying too hard to look like a throne, his beta and enforcers flanking him like loyal dogs. Banners bearing the Shadowpine crest, a silver wolf against black, hung from poles behind him, snapping in the breeze. "Let everyone hear you lie one more time." Mia lifted her head, meeting the Alpha's gaze despite every instinct screaming at her to submit, to lower her eyes, to accept her punishment like the good little Omega she was supposed to be. "I didn't steal anything," she said, louder this time. Her throat burned from dehydration and screaming. Yes, she had screamed earlier, when they'd first locked the silver chains around her wrists, before she'd learned to swallow the pain. "I've never stolen from anyone in this pack." "Liar!" Ashley shrieked, and suddenly she was there, standing right in front of Mia, so close that Mia could smell her expensive rose oil perfume. "We found it in your cottage. Under your mattress. Because you put it there," Mia said quietly, and for just a moment, she saw something flicker in Ashley's eyes. Fear, guilt. Then it was gone, replaced by rage. Ashley's hand connected with Mia's face in a vicious slap that sent her stumbling sideways. The chains yanked her back, and fresh pain exploded through her wrists as the silver dug deeper. "How dare you?" Ashley hissed. "How dare you accuse me, you pathetic, wolfless." "That's enough." The voice cut through the square like a blade through silk, quiet, but carrying an authority that made everyone freeze mid-breath. Mia's head snapped up, searching for the source, and her eyes landed on a man standing at the edge of the crowd. He wore the simple clothes of a traveling merchant, rough spun tunic, leather vest, practical boots dusty from the road. A worn satchel hung from his shoulder. Nothing special, nothing that should have commanded attention. But there was something about the way he held himself that made her breath catch. Tall and broad-shouldered, with dark hair that fell just past his collar and eyes that seemed to glow amber even in the afternoon sun. He stood with the stillness of a predator, watching the scene unfold with an expression that looked almost bored, except for his eyes. His eyes were blazing, and then their gazes met. The world tilted. Mia gasped as something inside her chest snapped, like a rope pulled taut finally breaking free. Heat flooded through her veins, replacing the burning pain of the silver with something entirely different. Something primal and ancient and absolutely terrifying. Mate. The word echoed through her mind in a voice that wasn't quite her own, a whisper that came from somewhere deep inside, somewhere she'd thought was empty and broken for 3 long years. No, that was impossible. She was wolfless. She couldn't have a mate. She couldn't feel the bond. This had to be delirium from the pain, from the heat, from... But the man's eyes widened, just slightly, and she knew he felt it too. For one suspended moment, everything else faded away. The crowd, the chains, Ashley's screaming, the Alpha's threats, none of it mattered. There was only him, and the invisible thread pulling tight between them, and the absolute certainty that her life had just changed in a way she couldn't begin to understand. Then someone threw a handful of mud that struck her in the chest, and the moment shattered. The man's expression transformed. The warmth in his eyes iced over into something cold and lethal, and for just a heartbeat, Mia could have sworn his eyes flashed pure gold, the mark of an alpha, not the amber brown of a common wolf. But then he stepped back into the crowd, and she lost sight of him. "Did you see that?" someone nearby whispered. She looked right at that merchant like she thought she was good enough to look at anyone. Ashley snapped, apparently having recovered from the interruption. She turned to her father on his platform. "Father, can we please just finish this? I have preparations to make for tonight's feast." Alpha Dane nodded, rising from his carved chair. The wooden platform creaked under his weight. "Mia Gray," he announced, his voice carrying across the square and echoing off the timber buildings. "You have been found guilty of theft, of betraying pack trust, and of refusing to accept your place. Your punishment is exile. You have until sunset to leave Shadowpine territory. If you are found within our borders after dark, you will be killed on sight." The words should have terrified her. Exile meant death. A wolfless woman alone in the wilderness wouldn't last a week. Rogues, wild animals, the elements themselves would tear her apart. But all Mia could think about was the man in the crowd, and the way the mate bond had felt like coming home and being torn apart all at once. "Strip her of the chains," Dane ordered, gesturing dismissively. "And someone get her out of my sight. She's ruining the aesthetic of our village square." 2 enforcers approached, and Mia braced herself for the agony of having the silver removed. But instead of unlocking them properly, they simply yanked, pulling the chains tight before tearing them away from her burned, blistered skin. This time, Mia did scream. She collapsed to her knees as the world went white with pain. Distantly, she heard laughter, heard Ashley's delighted giggle, heard someone mention something about sharing this on the pack's message board. "Get up," one of the enforcers growled, kicking her in the ribs hard enough that she felt something crack. "You heard the alpha. Get out." Mia tried. She genuinely tried to push herself to her feet, but her arms wouldn't support her weight. The burns from the silver were too severe, the damage too deep. She managed to get to her hands and knees before her strength gave out entirely. "Pathetic," the enforcer muttered. Then, louder, someone dragged her to the forest edge. "I'm not wasting my afternoon on this. I'll do it." That voice again. The merchant. Mia's head jerked up, and there he was, pushing through the crowd with an expression that looked almost bored, but his eyes told a different story. They were blazing with barely contained fury. "And who are you?" Alpha Dane demanded, clearly annoyed at having his spectacle interrupted twice by the same stranger. "Just a traveling merchant, Alpha," the man said, inclining his head in a gesture that managed to be respectful and mocking at the same time. His accent was refined, educated, not what you'd expect from a simple trader. "I'm heading east anyway, toward the King's Road. I'll take her to the forest border and save your enforcers the trouble." Dane studied him for a moment, eyes narrowed. You're not from around here. No, sir. I trade between the Northern Territories and the capital. Just passing through your charming village. The man's gaze swept the square, taking in the jeering crowd, the stained cobblestones, the wooden post with its iron shackles. Though I must say, your hospitality is memorable. A few people in the crowd shifted uncomfortably at the veiled criticism. But Dane just shrugged, too arrogant to catch the insult. Fine, just make sure she understands that if she comes back, we'll kill her slowly instead of quickly. Oh, I'll make sure she understands everything, the man said quietly, and something in his tone made Mia's skin prickle with anticipation rather than fear. He crossed to where she knelt on the cobblestones and crouched beside her. Up close, she could see the gold flecks in his amber eyes, could feel the heat radiating from his body, could smell cedar and mountain air and something wildly masculine that made her wolf, her supposedly non-existent wolf, whimper with longing somewhere deep inside. Can you walk? He asked softly, and his voice was gentle now, all the hardness melted away. Mia shook her head, not trusting herself to speak. Then I'll carry you, he said, and before she could protest, he'd scooped her up in his arms like she weighed nothing. The moment his skin touched hers, the mate bond flared so intensely that Mia actually gasped. She felt his sharp intake of breath, knew he'd felt it too, that electric current that raced between them, that sense of rightness that shouldn't exist for someone like her. Hold on, he murmured against her hair, so quietly that only she could hear. Just hold on a little longer. I promise you, they will pay for every second of this. Then he was moving, carrying her through the crowd that parted before him like water. Mia caught glimpses of faces, some smirking, some uncomfortable, all of them relieved that it wasn't them in chains, that it wasn't them being exiled. She caught Ashley's expression last, and the Alpha's daughter was staring after them with an odd look on her face, confusion mixed with something that might have been fear. Good, Mia thought with savage satisfaction. Be afraid, because even through the pain and humiliation and exhaustion, even though she didn't understand what was happening or who this man was, Mia knew one thing with absolute certainty. Everything was about to change. The man carried her out of the square, past the workshops where craftsmen had paused their work to watch, past the smaller cottages where families huddled in doorways, past the last of the buildings until they reached the tree line that marked the edge of Shadowpine territory. Only then did he slow, his jaw tight with barely controlled rage. Listen to me carefully, he said, his voice still quiet but carrying an edge of command that made her wolf sit up and pay attention. What I'm about to tell you is going to sound insane, but I need you to trust me. I don't even know you, Mia whispered, though her body disagreed. Every cell screamed that she knew him, had always known him, would always know him. His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. My name is Liam Thorne, he said. And I'm the Alpha King of North America. Mia stared at him. Then, despite everything, the pain, the fear, the utter insanity of the day, she laughed. It was a broken, slightly hysterical sound, but it was genuine. Right, she managed. And I'm the moon goddess herself. I'm serious, Liam said, and the absolute certainty in his voice made her laughter die. I came to Shadowpine for a surprise inspection this morning. I was going to wait until evening to reveal myself, to see how the pack operates when they think no one important is watching. His eyes hardened. I'm very glad I did. You're actually serious, Mia said slowly, searching his face for any sign of deception. I'm your mate, he said simply. I felt the bond the same moment you did. And I watched them brutalize you in that square while every instinct I have screamed at me to tear them apart. His arms tightened around her fractionally. The only reason they're still breathing is because I need to do this properly. Legally, so that when I strip that pathetic alpha of his title and his pack, no one can claim I acted out of personal bias. Mia's head was spinning. This is insane. I'm not anyone's mate. I'm wolfless. I can't. You're not wolfless, Liam interrupted, his voice hardening. You're suppressed. There's a difference. He started walking again, carrying her deeper into the forest where the sounds of the village faded. I could smell it the moment I saw you. Dark magic, old pack magic, wrapped around your wolf-like chains. Someone did this to you deliberately. That's impossible, Mia said, but even as she spoke, she remembered the voice that had whispered mate in her mind, the feelings that had surged through her when their eyes met. Why would anyone? That's what we're going to find out, Liam said grimly. But first, we need to get you somewhere safe. Somewhere I can heal you properly without that bastard Alpha seeing and realizing who I am. Where? Mia asked, exhaustion finally overtaking her. Her eyes were growing heavy, and the pain was fading into a distant throb. There's an inn 3 miles east, in the human settlement of Millbrook, Liam said. I have rooms there. It's warded against supernatural surveillance. No one from Shadowpine will be able to sense you. He looked down at her, and his expression softened. I know this is overwhelming. I know you have no reason to trust me. But I swear on my title, on my crown, on everything I am, I will protect you. No one will ever hurt you like that again. Mia wanted to argue, wanted to point out all the reasons why this was a terrible idea, why trusting a man she'd just met, Alpha King or not, was stupid. But she was so tired. So tired of fighting, of surviving, of being alone. And he was her mate. She didn't understand it, didn't know how it was possible, but she felt it in her bones. He was hers, and she was his, and maybe, just maybe, that was enough. Okay, she whispered, her eyes finally closing. Okay. The last thing she felt before darkness claimed her was Liam's lips brushing against her forehead and his whispered promise. They will pay for this. Every single one of them. I promise you that. Hey beautiful souls. If you're watching from anywhere in the world right now, drop a comment and let me know where you're tuning in from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button because trust me, you're not going to want to miss what happens next. This story is about to get wild. Now, are you ready to see what happens when an Alpha King decides to bring judgment down on an entire pack? Keep watching. Mia woke to softness. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming. The mattress beneath her was plush, stuffed with real feathers, not the straw and burlap she'd slept on for 3 years. The sheets were cool linen against her skin, nothing like the scratchy wool blanket in her cottage. The air smelled of lavender and something medicinal, and when she tried to move, her body protested with a dull ache rather than the screaming agony she remembered. Her eyes flew open. The room was modest but clean, whitewashed walls, dark wooden beams across the ceiling, a window with simple curtains that filtered the late afternoon light. Definitely not anywhere in Shadowpine. This was human construction, human design. And she was clean. Someone had bathed her, dressed her in a soft cotton nightgown, and bandaged her wrists with strips of cloth that smelled of herbs. Panic surged through her chest. Easy. That voice, Liam's voice, came from somewhere to her left. You're safe. I promise. Mia turned her head and found him sitting in a wooden chair beside the bed, his elbows resting on his knees, his amber eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her breath hitch. He'd changed out of the merchant's dusty clothes into dark trousers and a simple white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms corded with muscle and marked with scars that spoke of battles fought and survived. How long was I out? She asked, her voice hoarse. About 4 hours. He leaned back, though his posture remained alert, coiled like a spring. Long enough for me to get you here, call in a healer, and start making some very important arrangements. A healer. Mia glanced down at her bandaged wrists. The pain was still there, but muted, manageable. I can't afford. You don't need to afford anything, Liam interrupted, his tone leaving no room for argument. You're under my protection now. That means everything you need is taken care of. The mate bond hummed between them, a constant low vibration that made her hyper-aware of his presence. She could feel his emotions bleeding through, anger, protectiveness, and something else. Something fierce and possessive that should have terrified her but instead made her feel wanted. God, when was the last time anyone had wanted her? You said I'm not wolfless, Mia said, dragging herself back to reality. You said someone suppressed my wolf with dark magic. The healer confirmed it. Liam's jaw tightened, a muscle ticking beneath the skin. There's a binding wrapped around your wolf, old pack magic mixed with something darker. Blood magic, probably. It's been there for years. At least 3, maybe longer. 3 years. Right around the time her parents died in that accident on the mountain road, and she'd suddenly found herself unable to shift, unable to feel her wolf. The pack had called it shock, trauma, a psychological block. They'd given her a month to recover, then stripped her of her rank and made her a servant when her wolf never returned. She'd believed them. She'd thought she was broken. Who would do that? She whispered. Why? That's what I intend to find out. Liam stood, moving to the window. Even the simple act of walking held a predatory grace that marked him as alpha. No, more than alpha. King. But I have theories. Your parents were beta and third of Shadowpine, weren't they? Mia nodded, surprised he knew. My father was beta under Alpha Dane's father. When the old Alpha died and Dane took over 5 years ago, my father stayed on. He and my mother both died in a wagon accident 3 years ago. The wheel broke on the mountain pass. Convenient timing, Liam said softly, his back still to her. Right before Dane started making some very questionable decisions regarding pack resources. What are you talking about? He turned to face her, and the Alpha King was fully present now. No more gentle mate, just cold calculation and authority that filled the small room like a physical presence. I've been investigating Shadowpine for 6 months. Anonymous tips about embezzlement, about pack resources disappearing, about wolves being forced into unpaid labor. His eyes found hers. About a former beta's daughter being stripped of her rank and made a servant right after her parents died under suspicious circumstances. The room tilted. Mia gripped the sheets, trying to anchor herself. You're saying Dane killed my parents. I'm saying your father was beta, which meant he had access to pack records and resources. I'm saying that right after he died, valuable timber contracts started disappearing, trade agreements were renegotiated in Dane's favor, and pack wealth began concentrating at the top while everyone else scraped by. Liam crossed back to the bed, crouching beside it so they were eye level. I'm saying that his daughter, who would have inherited his position and his knowledge, suddenly became wolfless and powerless. She couldn't breathe. The implications crashed over her like a wave. If he killed my parents, if he suppressed my wolf, then he's finished, Liam said simply. But I need proof. Real, undeniable proof that will hold up before the Council of Alphas. That's why I didn't reveal myself today, why I let them. His hands clenched into fists, knuckles white. Why I let them hurt you. Because if I'd intervened as the Alpha King, Dane would have had time to destroy evidence, to spin a story, to make it look like I was overstepping my authority over a simple pack matter. So you're using me as bait, Mia said flatly. No, the word came out hard, absolute. I'm giving you justice. There's a difference. He reached out slowly, telegraphing his movement, and gently took her bandaged hand in his. The mate bond flared at the contact, warm and right and utterly terrifying. Tonight, I'm going back to that village as myself. I'm going to demand a formal hearing for your case. And when Dane refuses, because he will refuse, his ego won't allow him to think he's done anything wrong, I'm going to invoke my authority as Alpha King and order a full investigation. And if you don't find anything, I will. His certainty was unshakable, but more importantly, when I announce that you're my mate, under royal protection, the people who did this to you are going to panic. They're going to make mistakes. And I'm going to be watching. Mia pulled her hand back, needing space to think. The room felt too small suddenly, the walls pressing in. Why? Why do all of this? You don't know me. The mate bond doesn't mean you owe me. It means everything, Liam said quietly, and the raw honesty in his voice stopped her cold. You're my mate, Mia. My fated mate. Do you understand how rare that is? Most alphas never find theirs. We make political matches, strategic alliances, but true mates. He shook his head. I've been searching for 20 years. I'm 38 years old, and I'd resigned myself to never feeling this bond. To ruling alone. I'm nobody, Mia whispered, the words she'd heard every day for 3 years spilling out. I'm a wolfless servant with nothing to offer you. When people find out the Alpha King's mate is perfect, Liam interrupted, they'll find out my mate is perfect. Strong enough to survive 3 years of abuse without breaking. Brave enough to look an alpha in the eye and call his daughter a liar. Beautiful enough to take my breath away even covered in filth and blood. He stood, putting distance between them again, as if he didn't trust himself to stay close. You're not nobody, Mia. You never were. They just convinced you that you were so you wouldn't fight back. A knock at the door interrupted them. Liam's entire demeanor shifted, becoming colder, more formal. Enter. A woman stepped in, tall, dark-skinned, with silver streaks threading through her black hair and eyes that held centuries of wisdom. She wore simple traveling clothes but moved with the confidence of someone used to respect. A worn leather bag hung from her shoulder, clinking with glass bottles. This is Nora, Liam said. She's the healer I mentioned. Also one of the most powerful witches in the Northern Territories and a trusted friend. Your Majesty, Nora said with a slight bow before turning her attention to Mia. Her expression softened immediately. And you must be the infamous mate everyone's been buzzing about. She smiled, warm and genuine. Let me check those bandages, dear. His Majesty was practically vibrating with anxiety while I worked earlier. I need to make sure the salve is taking properly. Mia glanced at Liam, who had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. I wasn't vibrating. You paced a hole in the floorboards, Nora said dryly, settling on the edge of the bed. May I? Mia nodded, extending her wrists. Nora unwrapped the bandages with practiced efficiency, revealing skin that was still angry and red but no longer blistered and weeping. The witch made a pleased sound. Good. The silver burned deep, but you're healing well. Better than expected, actually. She glanced at Liam. The mate bond is helping. Once you mark her officially, she'll heal even faster. We're not discussing marking, Liam said firmly. Not until she's had time to process everything and make her own choices. Nora raised an eyebrow but didn't comment. Instead, she turned back to Mia, her expression growing serious. I examined the binding on your wolf while you were unconscious. It's complex work. 3 different casters, I'd estimate, all working in concert. That level of coordination requires planning and resources. This wasn't spur-of-the-moment magic. Can you break it? Mia asked, hardly daring to hope. Yes and no. Nora began applying fresh salve to her wrists, her touch gentle. I can break the spell, but doing so will be painful. The magic has been wrapped around your wolf for so long that removing it will feel like ripping off a layer of skin. You'll need to be prepared for that. And your wolf will be confused, possibly aggressive when she first wakes. It's going to take time to adjust. How long will it take? The ritual itself. About an hour. The recovery. Nora's expression turned sympathetic. Your wolf has been dormant for 3 years. When she wakes up, it's going to be overwhelming. You'll need at least a week to adjust, to learn to shift again, to remember what it feels like to be whole. I don't have a week, Mia said, looking at Liam. You said you're confronting Dane tonight. And you'll be safely here while I do, Liam said. You're not going anywhere near that village until you're healed and your wolf is free. They'll know something's wrong if I just disappear. They think you're exiled, Liam reminded her. They think you're stumbling through the forest somewhere, dying slowly. Let them think that for a few more days. It'll make the reveal that much more satisfying. Nora finished rebandaging Mia's wrists and packed up her supplies. I'll come back tomorrow morning to start the unbinding ritual. In the meantime, rest. Eat. Let your mate fuss over you. He's going to whether you want him to or not. I don't fuss, Liam protested. Both women looked at him. He sighed. I'll try not to fuss, he amended. After Nora left, silence settled over the room. Mia studied Liam, really looked at him for the first time without pain clouding her vision. He was gorgeous, yes, the kind of masculine beauty that made her mouth go dry, but it was more than that. There was a weight to him, a gravity that came from years of responsibility and power. Scars marked his hands, his forearms, visible reminders of battles fought. And yet when he looked at her, something in his expression softened, became almost vulnerable. Can I ask you something? She said. Anything. Why didn't you have guards with you today? If you're really the Alpha King, shouldn't you have an entourage? Protection. A smile ghosted across his face. I do. They're here, in Millbrook and scattered throughout the area, posing as various travelers and merchants. I learned a long time ago that if I show up with an official procession, people put on a show. They act the way they think I want them to act. His expression hardened. I needed to see Shadowpine as it really is. I needed to see how Dane treats his pack when he thinks no one important is watching. And what did you see? Fear, Liam said quietly. I saw wolves flinching when enforcers walked by. I saw servants being worked to exhaustion. I saw resources concentrated at the top while everyone else scrambled for scraps. He met her eyes. And then I saw them torture my mate in the village square while people filmed it for entertainment, and I saw red. The mate bond pulsed between them, carrying his rage and his barely leashed violence. Mia should have been scared. She'd spent 3 years learning to fear alpha authority, learning to make herself small and invisible. But she wasn't scared. She was thrilled. What happens tonight? She asked. I go back to Shadowpine. I announce myself at the main lodge. I demand to see all pack records and interview every pack member who wants to speak with me confidentially. His eyes glinted gold. And I make it very, very clear that Shadowpine is under investigation and that any attempts to interfere will result in immediate removal from power. Dane won't take that well. I'm counting on it. Liam moved to the door, then paused. There's food downstairs in the common room, real food, not scraps. The innkeeper knows. You're under my protection. Eat, rest, everything you need will be provided. He hesitated, something vulnerable crossing his face. And Mia, thank you. For what? For surviving, he said simply. For being strong enough to make it to today, to this moment, so I could find you. His hand rested on the doorknob. I know this is fast. I know you don't know me, don't have any reason to trust me beyond the mate bond. But I meant what I said. I will protect you. I will avenge you. And when this is over, when you're safe and whole and your wolf is free, I'll give you a choice. What choice? Whether you want me, Liam said quietly. The mate bond doesn't mean you have to accept me. It just means we're compatible, that we could be happy together. But I won't force you into anything. When this is done, you'll be free to choose your own path. Even if that path doesn't include me. Before she could respond, he was gone, the door clicking shut behind him. Mia sat in the sudden silence, her mind reeling. Less than 12 hours ago, she'd been chained in the village square, certain she was going to die. Now she was in a human inn, learning that her parents might have been murdered, that her wolf was suppressed rather than gone, and that she was apparently mated to the most powerful alpha in North America. It was insane, all of it, but as she touched her bandaged wrists, as she felt the mate bond humming warm and constant in her chest, Mia realized something. She believed him, every word, and more than that, she wanted to see what happened when an alpha king went to war for his mate. Even if that mate was her. If you're loving this story so far, let me know in the comments. Tell me, do you think Mia should forgive the pack, or should Liam burn it all down? I want to hear your thoughts. And seriously, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. We're just getting started, and trust me, you do not want to miss what happens when Liam walks back into that village tonight. The village of Shadowpine looked different at night. Mia stood at the window of her room, watching the distant glow of firelight that marked the settlement 3 miles west. She shouldn't be out of bed. Nora had been very clear about rest, but sleep was impossible. Somewhere in that cluster of timber buildings and thatched roofs, Liam was walking into the lion's den. Her mate was confronting an entire pack alone. Well, not alone. She'd watched from this same window 2 hours ago as a dozen riders had emerged from various buildings in Millbrook, Liam's hidden guard, no longer bothering with their disguises. They'd worn black leather armor marked with the silver wolf insignia of the King's Guard, carried weapons that gleamed even in the twilight, and moved with the deadly precision of elite warriors. But still, Dane had his enforcers, his beta, his loyal wolves. And he had Ashley, who was cunning enough to frame an innocent woman and cruel enough to enjoy it. You should be resting. Mia spun to find Nora standing in the doorway, carrying a tray laden with bread, cheese, and what smelled like venison stew. The witch's expression was knowing, sympathetic. I can't, Mia admitted. Not while he's out there. He's the Alpha King, Nora said, setting the tray on the small table by the window. He's fought rogue packs, survived assassination attempts, and once faced down 3 alphas who challenged his authority simultaneously. Shadowpine is a minor inconvenience at best. Then why do I feel like I'm going to crawl out of my skin? Nora smiled. Because he's your mate. The bond makes you protective, makes you want to be at his side even when logic says you'd be a liability. She gestured to the food. Eat. It'll help ground you. Mia sat, suddenly, realizing she was starving. She couldn't remember the last real meal she'd had. Servants in Shadowpine ate whatever scraps remained after the pack finished, and there were rarely any. She tore into the bread, then the stew, and for several minutes there was only the sound of eating and the crackling fire in the small hearth. Tell me about him, Mia said finally, wiping her mouth with the cloth napkin. Actual cloth, not the rough burlap she was used to. About Liam. You said you're friends. We've known each other for 15 years, Nora said, settling into the chair across from her. I was court witch to the previous Alpha King, Liam's father. When the old king died and Liam took the throne at 23, I stayed on. Watched him grow from an arrogant young alpha into, well, still arrogant, but tempered with wisdom and genuine care for his people. What's he like? Really like? Nora considered this, her dark eyes thoughtful. Fair, sometimes ruthlessly so. He holds himself to the same standards he demands of others, higher, actually. He works 20-hour days, visits every pack in his territory at least once a year, and loses sleep over wolves he's never met. She paused. He's also lonely. He hides it well, but I've watched him for years. Seen him at gatherings where other alphas bring their mates, their families. Seen the way he steps back, becomes just a little more formal, a little more distant. Mia's chest tightened. He said he'd been searching for 20 years. He never gave up hope, Nora said softly. Even when everyone else told him to accept a political match, to produce heirs and secure the succession. He refused, said he'd rather rule alone than settle for anything less than what his parents had. Her expression warmed. His parents were true mates. The kind of love that makes you believe in fate. When his mother died, his father only survived 3 months before grief took him too. Liam saw that, understood that a mate bond wasn't just about attraction or compatibility. It was about finding the other half of your soul. And he thinks I'm that. Mia whispered. I'm nobody. I have nothing to offer a king. You're everything, Nora corrected firmly. You survived 3 years of systematic abuse without losing your compassion. I saw how you looked at the other servants in that square, worried for them even while you were being tortured. You stood up to an alpha when you had every reason to submit. And you felt the mate bond even through a magical suppression that should have made it impossible. She leaned forward. That's not nothing, Mia. That's extraordinary. Before Mia could respond, a commotion erupted from the street below. Shouting, the thunder of hooves, the clang of steel. Both women rushed to the window. A rider was coming hard down the main road, one of Liam's guards, her black horse lathered with sweat. She reined in before the inn and vaulted from the saddle, sprinting inside. Something's wrong, Mia said, her heart hammering. Seconds later, footsteps pounded up the stairs. The door burst open and the guard stood there, breathing hard, her face grim. The king requests your presence, she said to Nora. There's been a development. What kind of development? Nora demanded, already moving toward her bag of supplies. The suspect tried to run, the guard said. We caught her at the forest edge with a saddlebag full of stolen jewelry and coin, including the necklace she claimed was stolen. But when we brought her back to the village, she paused, her jaw tight. She drank poison. Nightshade. She's dying, and she says she'll only talk to the witch and the wolfless girl. Mia's blood ran cold. Ashley. No. The guard's eyes met hers. The innkeeper's daughter. A girl named Hannah. She says she was paid to place the binding spell on you 3 years ago. And she's ready to name everyone involved before she dies. The ride to Shadowpine was the longest 20 minutes of Mia's life. Nora had protested bringing her, but the guard had been adamant. The girl was fading fast and refused to speak without Mia present. So they'd bundled her into a cloak, helped her onto a horse behind Nora, and ridden through the night with 2 guards flanking them. As they approached the village, Mia saw that everything had changed. The wooden gates stood open, manned by King's Guard instead of Shadowpine enforcers. Torches blazed throughout the square, turning night into day. And the entire pack, every man, woman, and child, had been assembled in the open space, surrounded by armed warriors in black leather. At the center of it all stood Liam. He changed into formal attire, black trousers, black coat with silver fastenings, and a circlet of silver that caught the firelight. This was no longer the gentle mate who'd carried her to safety. This was the Alpha King in all his terrible glory, power radiating from him in waves that made even the strongest wolves in the crowd drop their eyes in submission. Beside him stood Dane, stripped of his fine clothes and dressed in simple homespun, his hands bound with iron chains. Ashley knelt nearby, weeping dramatically, her white dress filthy and torn. Beta Zane Cooper stood rigid with fear, and 5 enforcers were on their knees with swords at their throats. But Liam's attention wasn't on any of them. The moment Mia's horse entered the square, his head snapped toward her, and his eyes blazed pure gold. The crowd parted as Nora guided the horse forward. Mia felt hundreds of eyes on her, shock, confusion, and in some cases, dawning horror as they recognized the woman they'd tortured just hours ago. "You shouldn't have brought her," Liam said to the guard, but his voice held no real anger. He moved to Mia's side, reaching up to help her down. His hands were gentle despite the fury burning in his eyes. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine," Mia said, though her legs shook as her feet touched the cobblestones. The square looked different from this perspective, not as a prisoner, but as someone under the protection of the most powerful alpha alive. "Where's Hannah?" "The lodge," Liam said, his hand settling at the small of her back, protective and possessive. "My healer is with her, but the poison is too far advanced. She has maybe an hour." His jaw clenched. "She worked at the inn here, the daughter of the innkeeper who died last winter. 19 years old. When we announced the investigation, she panicked and tried to run with evidence she'd been hoarding." They walked toward the main lodge, the largest building in the village, its carved pillars depicting the pack's history. Mia had cleaned this building 1,000 times but had never been allowed past the public rooms. Now Liam led her through the great hall, past the massive hearth and the alpha's chair that Dane would never sit in again, and up the stairs to the private chambers. In what had once been a guest room, a girl lay on the bed, her skin already graying, her lips stained black from the poison. Another healer, a young man with gentle hands, worked frantically, trying various antidotes, but Mia could see it was hopeless. Hannah's eyes, glassy with approaching death, found Mia and widened. "I'm sorry," she whispered, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know what they were going to do to you. I thought it was just to keep you from challenging Ashley for beta position. I didn't know they'd kill your parents. I didn't know." "Hannah," Nora said gently, kneeling beside the bed. "I can ease your passing, but only if you tell us everything. Who paid you? Who helped you? What exactly did they ask you to do?" Hannah's breathing was labored, each word a struggle. 3 years ago, right after the old alpha died, Dane came to my mother's inn. Said his daughter was worried about competition. Said the new beta's daughter, "You were too strong, too popular." He wanted insurance. Insurance. Liam's voice was deadly quiet. "A spell to suppress your wolf," Hannah said, looking at Mia. "Not permanent. Just until you married and left the pack, or accepted a lower position." He gave me 1,000 silver pieces. More money than my mother and I could make in 5 years. Tears tracked down her gray cheeks. "I was 16 and stupid and greedy. My mother was sick. We needed the money. Who else was involved?" Nora pressed, her hand glowing faintly as she worked to ease the girl's pain. 2 other witches," Hannah gasped. "Traveling witches Dane brought in from the southern territories. I don't know their names, they wore hoods, never showed their faces. But they were powerful, old, they did most of the work. I just provided the final binding, using my connection to the pack lands." "When did you learn about the murders?" Liam demanded. "Not until after," Hannah sobbed. "A month after we cast the spell, your parents died. And Dane promoted his beta instead of you. And I realized what he'd done. That he'd killed them because your father knew something, had found something in the pack records. What did he find? Mia asked, her voice shaking. Proof, Hannah whispered. Proof that Dane had been stealing from the pack for years. Selling timber rights to rival packs, taking bribes from humans who wanted access to our hunting grounds, embezzling trade money. Your father confronted him in private, said he'd give Dane a chance to make it right before going to the council. And Dane killed him instead, Liam said flatly. Made it look like an accident, Hannah confirmed. Cut the wagon wheel axle partway through, weakened it so it would break on the mountain pass. Your parents never had a chance. She coughed, more blood appearing. I wanted to tell someone. I swear I did, but my mother was dying and I was terrified and I thought maybe I'd imagined it. Maybe it really was an accident. But you kept the evidence, Nora said, gesturing to a saddlebag in the corner that one of the guards had brought up. Why? Insurance, Hannah said with a bitter laugh that turned into a cough. I learned that from Dane. Always keep insurance. So I took pieces, jewelry Ashley claimed was stolen, coins from the embezzled funds, letters between Dane and the Southern Alphas he was selling information to. I thought if he ever came after me, I could use it. And tonight? Liam asked. Tonight you announced an investigation, Hannah whispered, her eyes unfocused now, looking beyond them. And I knew everything was over. That you'd find out what I'd done, that I'd go to prison or worse. So I decided to run. Another cough, weaker this time. But your guards caught me. And I realized I could finally do something right. Finally tell the truth. The binding spell, Mia said urgently, sensing they were running out of time. Can it be broken? Already, broken, Hannah gasped. The moment I took the evidence and ran, the moment I broke my compact with Dane, the spell started unraveling. Your wolf is just sleeping now. Will wake, soon. Her eyes found Mia's one last time. I'm sorry. For everything. I hope you can forgive. The words trailed off. Hannah's chest rose once more, then stilled. The young healer checked for a pulse, then shook his head. She's gone. Silence filled the room. Mia stood frozen, trying to process everything. The confirmation that Dane had murdered her parents, that Ashley's jewelry theft was just one piece of a larger conspiracy, that her wolf was coming back. Her wolf was coming back. Mia, Liam's voice, gentle again. I need to finish what I started downstairs. But you don't have to be there. You can stay here, rest. No, Mia said, surprised by the steel in her own voice. I'm coming. I need to see this. All of it. Liam studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Then stay close to me. They descended the stairs together, and Mia felt something shifting inside her chest. Not the mate bond, something else. Something wild and fierce that had been caged for 3 years was starting to stir. The square was silent when they emerged. Every eye tracked their movement as Liam led Mia to the center, to where Dane still stood in chains. Hannah is dead, Liam announced, his voice carrying across the square. But before she died, she confessed to everything. The binding spell cast on Mia Gray under your orders. The murder of Beta Thomas Gray and his mate Clara, arranged to look like an accident. The embezzlement of pack funds, the illegal sale of pack resources, the systematic abuse of pack members who questioned your authority. Dane's face had gone pale, but he rallied, drawing himself up. The ravings of a dying girl trying to save herself. There's no proof. There's a saddlebag full of proof, Liam interrupted. Jewelry your daughter reported stolen over the past 3 years, all of it in Hannah's possession because you gave it to her as payment. Correspondence between you and Alphas from the Southern Territories, discussing payments for information about my movements and my policies. And a ledger, kept in your own hand, documenting every silver piece you stole from this pack. The crowd erupted in shocked whispers. Several wolves pushed forward, demanding to see the evidence, their faces twisted with betrayal and rage. By the authority vested in me as Alpha King of North America, Liam continued, his voice cutting through the chaos, I strip you of your title as Alpha of Shadowpine Pack. I strip you of your rank, your land, and your freedom. You will be transported to the council seat to stand trial for murder, embezzlement, and conspiracy against the crown. You can't do this, Ashley shrieked, lunging forward. 2 guards caught her before she reached Liam. My father is innocent. That girl was lying. This is all a mistake. You were complicit, Liam said, turning his gold eyes on her. You knew about the embezzlement. You used stolen jewelry to frame Mia Gray, your own pack sister, for theft. You participated in her public torture and humiliation, filmed it for your own entertainment. His lip curled in disgust. You're going to trial right alongside your father. I didn't know about the murders. Ashley sobbed, her careful mask finally cracking. I swear, I didn't know. I just wanted her gone. She was always so perfect, so good at everything, and everyone loved her and I was just jealous, Mia said quietly, and every head swiveled toward her. You were jealous, so you destroyed my life. Ashley's face crumpled, and for the first time, she looked genuinely remorseful. But it was too late. Far too late. Liam gestured to his guards. Take them both. Beta Zane Cooper, you're relieved of duty pending investigation into what you knew and when you knew it. The same goes for the enforcers. As Dane and Ashley were dragged away, the former silent and defeated, the latter screaming and crying, Liam turned to face the assembled pack. Shadowpine is under direct royal oversight until a new alpha can be appointed, he announced. My advisors will remain here to audit the pack's finances and ensure every stolen piece of silver is returned to the communal fund. Anyone who has information about other crimes committed by the former alpha should speak to my second-in-command, Commander Elena. The blonde warrior from earlier stepped forward, her expression stern but not unkind. Immediately, several wolves began pushing forward, eager to finally tell their stories. But Liam wasn't done. There's one more thing, he said, and his voice softened fractionally. He turned to Mia, extending his hand. Mia Gray, daughter of Beta Thomas Gray and 3rd Clara Gray. You were stripped of your rank unjustly. You were tortured and exiled without cause. On behalf of the crown, I offer you formal restitution and the restoration of your family's honor. Mia took his hand, her own trembling. I accept. Furthermore, Liam continued, and now a smile played at the corners of his mouth, I'm claiming you as my mate before this pack and before the moon goddess herself. If you'll have me. The square erupted. Gasps, shouts of shock, a few cheers from wolves who'd always been kind to Mia. But Mia barely heard them. All she could see was Liam, looking at her like she was the only person in the world. Yes, she whispered. Then, louder, yes. Liam pulled her close, and the mate bond sang between them, brilliant and strong and absolutely right. And there, in the square where she'd been humiliated just hours before, Mia Gray kissed the Alpha King and felt her wolf finally begin to wake. Oh my god, can we talk about that confession scene? Hannah's death hit different, didn't it? And Ashley finally getting dragged away in chains, justice. The transformation started at dawn. Mia woke gasping, her body drenched in sweat, every nerve ending on fire. For a terrifying moment she thought the silver burns had returned, that everything from the night before had been a fever dream. But then she saw Liam asleep in the chair beside her bed, still in his formal attire, his king's circlet discarded on the table, dark circles under his eyes from a sleepless night, and remembered. Hannah's confession, Dane's arrest, the kiss in the square that had felt like coming home, and the wild, restless thing stirring inside her chest that definitely wasn't human. Liam, she managed, and the word came out strangled. His eyes snapped open immediately, alert despite the exhaustion. What's wrong? Some things. Mia doubled over as pain lanced through her spine, sharp and brutal. Something's happening. Liam was at her side in an instant, his hands gentle as he helped her sit up. Your wolf. The binding is completely broken now. She's waking up. He pressed a kiss to her forehead, and even through the pain she felt the mate bond pulse with reassurance. I've got you. Just breathe. It hurts, Mia gasped. Every bone in her body felt like it was breaking and reforming. Her skin was too tight, her senses suddenly overwhelming. She could hear conversations from 3 rooms away, smell the bread baking in the inn's kitchen below, feel the individual threads in the sheets beneath her fingers. I know, love, I know. Liam gathered her close, and his scent, cedar and mountain air and something uniquely him, cut through the chaos. Your body is remembering how to be wolf. It's been suppressed for so long that everything's coming back at once. The door burst open and Nora rushed in, her bag already open, bottles clinking. How long has she been like this? Just started, Liam said, not releasing Mia. Can you help? Not really, Nora admitted, pulling out a vial of amber liquid. This will dull the pain slightly, but the shift has to happen naturally. Her wolf needs to fully emerge, or she'll be stuck in this in-between state. She uncorked the vial and held it to Mia's lips. Drink, dear, all of it. The liquid tasted like honey and fire. It burned going down but then spread warmth through her chest, taking the edge off the worst of the pain. Mia's breathing eased slightly. How long? She asked. Hours, possibly, Nora said, settling on the edge of the bed. Your wolf has been dormant for 3 years. She's essentially a stranger to you now. You'll have to get to know each other again, learn to work together. And she's going to be confused and probably angry about being caged for so long. As if in response, something snarled inside Mia's mind, an actual, physical presence that hadn't been there moments ago. A voice that was hers but also distinctly other. Trapped. They trapped us. Want to run. Want to hunt. Want to. Easy, Liam murmured against her hair, somehow sensing her internal struggle. I know she's overwhelming right now, but you're stronger than her. You're the human half, the one with reasoning and control. Don't let her take over completely. What if I can't control her? Mia whispered. Then I'll help you. His arms tightened around her. I'm an alpha, remember. I can help guide her, calm her. But you need to try first. She's part of you, Mia. She always has been. Over the next hour, the pain came in waves. Between each surge, Nora fed her more of the amber liquid and Liam talked to her in a low, steady voice, about his own first shift, about the time he'd lost control and accidentally destroyed his father's study, about how even now, after decades of experience, his wolf sometimes surprised him with its intensity. The wolf isn't lesser, he explained during one of the calmer moments. It's not something to dominate or suppress. It's a partner. You have to find balance, give her room to run and hunt and feel, but maintain enough control that you don't lose yourself completely. How do I do that? By listening, Liam said. What does she want right now? Mia closed her eyes, reaching for that wild presence in her mind. At first all she felt was rage, 3 years of caged fury, of forced silence, of watching helplessly while they were humiliated and hurt. But beneath the anger was something else. Something that made her breath catch. She wants you, Mia whispered. She recognizes you as mate. As hers. Liam's eyes flashed gold. And what does she want to do about that? The wolf surged forward with an answer that made Mia's cheeks burn. I don't think I should say that out loud with Nora in the room. The witch laughed, already packing up her supplies. That's my cue to leave. The mating instinct is strong in newly awakened wolves, especially when they've just found their fated mate. You two are going to need privacy. She paused at the door, her expression turning serious. Liam, don't let her shift yet. Her body isn't ready. Keep her grounded in human form for at least another day, or the transformation could tear her apart. Understood, Liam said. After Nora left, silence settled over the room. Outside, Millbrook was waking up. Mia could hear the blacksmith's hammer, the baker calling out morning prices, children laughing as they ran to the village well. Normal sounds. A normal day for everyone except her. Talk to me, Liam said softly. What are you feeling? Everything, Mia admitted. It's like I've been living in a gray world and suddenly everything has color. I can smell things I never noticed before. Hear conversations from buildings away. And my wolf is just there, constantly, wanting things, feeling things so intensely I can barely process it. What does she want right now? To run, to hunt, to, Mia broke off, embarrassed. To claim her mate, Liam finished for her, no judgment in his voice. That's natural. The wolf recognizes the bond before the human fully accepts it. She's been dormant while you've been processing everything logically, weighing options, being careful. But she doesn't care about careful. She just knows I'm hers and she wants to mark me, claim me, make sure everyone knows it. That's completely normal, he assured her. My wolf has been screaming at me to mark you since the moment we met. Do you know how hard it's been to resist? To give you time and space when every instinct I have is demanding I claim you immediately. Mia looked at him, really looked. Saw the tension in his shoulders, the gold flickering in his eyes, the way his hands trembled slightly where they rested on her arms. He was holding himself back with pure force of will. Why? She asked. Why resist? The bond is real. We both feel it. Because you deserve a choice, Liam said fiercely. Because you've spent 3 years having every choice stripped from you, and I won't be another person who takes your agency away. When we mark each other, if we mark each other, it needs to be because you want it. Not because your wolf is overwhelming you, or because you feel obligated, or because I'm the alpha king and you think you have to. Something in Mia's chest cracked open at that. Here was the most powerful alpha in North America, a man who could command thousands with a word, and he was giving her control. Giving her choice. Treating her like an equal when everyone else had treated her like nothing. What if I want it? She whispered. Liam's breath caught. Mia, what if I want you? She continued, the words tumbling out faster now. Not because of the mate bond, though that's real and I feel it. Not because you're the king, though that's impressive. But because you carried me when I couldn't walk. Because you gave me justice when everyone else just watched. Because you're giving me choices when you could just take what you want. You've been through trauma, Liam said, though his voice was strained. You're not thinking clearly. The wolf awakening is affecting your judgment. Stop, Mia interrupted. Stop trying to protect me from myself. I know my own mind. Yes, my wolf wants you. But so do I. The human part, the logical part, the part that's spent 3 years being invisible and worthless. I want you, Liam Thorne. I want this bond. I want. He kissed her. It wasn't gentle or careful. It was desperate and claiming and absolutely perfect. Mia gasped against his mouth and her wolf surged forward with triumph, recognizing this, wanting this, demanding more. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Liam pressed his forehead to hers. We should wait, he said, though he made no move to pull away. You should have time to adjust, to be sure. I'm sure, Mia said. But if you need time. I'm sure, Mia said. But if you need time. I've waited 20 years for you, Liam said roughly. I could wait 20 more if that's what you needed. But don't mistake my restraint for lack of wanting. I want you so badly I can barely think straight. My wolf is tearing me apart trying to get to you. And if we start this now, I'm not sure I'll be able to stop. Then don't stop, Mia breathed. The gold in Liam's eyes blazed brighter. You need to understand what you're agreeing to. Marking is permanent. It's a bond deeper than marriage, deeper than any human connection. You'll feel everything I feel, my emotions, my pain, my pleasure. And I'll feel yours. We'll be connected for life. If something happens to me, you'll feel it. If I die, there's a good chance you'll follow within months. The same is true for you, Mia pointed out. Yes, which is why I'm telling you now, I'm not an easy mate. I have enemies, people who would love to hurt me through you. And I'm gone for weeks at a time, traveling between packs, handling disputes, maintaining order. It's a lonely life even with a partner. And if I'm willing to face all of that. Liam cupped her face in his hands, his expression raw and vulnerable in a way she suspected few people ever saw. Then I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret choosing me. Before Mia could respond, another wave of pain crashed through her, stronger this time, more insistent. Her wolf was done waiting, done being patient. She wanted out, wanted to run, wanted to claim her mate and her freedom all at once. Easy, Liam murmured, gathering her close again. Remember what Nora said. You can't shift yet. Your body isn't ready. Tell that to her, Mia gasped. She's not listening. Then we'll tire her out another way. Liam stood, pulling her up with him. Come on. We're going outside. Outside. I can barely stand. Trust me. He led her down the stairs and out the back of the inn, to a small private garden that was shielded from the main street by a high wooden fence. The morning sun was warm, the air crisp and clean. And suddenly Mia could smell everything. The herbs growing in neat rows, the roses climbing the fence, the rich earth beneath her bare feet. Run, Liam said simply. Human form, but let your wolf have some control. Let her feel the wind, the sun, the freedom. It'll help calm her. I'll look insane, Mia protested, but her wolf was already pushing forward, eager. No one can see us back here, Liam assured her. And I'll run with you. Come on. He took off across the small garden, moving with inhuman grace and speed despite being in human form. And before Mia could overthink it, her wolf seized control and she was running too. It was glorious. 3 years of being slow and weak and human, and suddenly she was fast. Not as fast as she'd be in wolf form, but fast enough that the world blurred around her, fast enough that the wind whipped her hair back and her heart pounded with exhilaration rather than fear. They ran circuits around the garden, leaping over herb beds and dodging around the roses. Liam laughed, actual, genuine laughter that transformed his stern features into something younger, lighter. And Mia found herself laughing too, the sound strange and wonderful after so long without joy. Finally, breathless and grinning, they collapsed on the grass beneath an old oak tree. Mia's wolf settled, satisfied for the moment, purring with contentment at being close to her mate. Better? Liam asked. Better, Mia agreed. Then, more seriously, thank you. For understanding. For not trying to suppress her or control her. She's part of you, Liam said simply. I could never love you without loving all of you, human and wolf both. He reached over and took her hand, threading their fingers together. Though I have to admit, watching you run like that, completely free and wild, my wolf very much approved. Heat flooded through Mia at the look in his eyes. Yeah, definitely. Liam's thumb traced circles on her palm. But we still need to wait. At least until your wolf is stable, until you're fully healed from the silver burns, until you stop making excuses. Mia suggested. He laughed, the sound low and intimate. Until I can be sure I'm not taking advantage of you in a vulnerable moment. You're impossibly noble, you know that. It's a character flaw, Liam agreed. My counsel complains about it regularly. They lay there in comfortable silence, watching clouds drift across the blue sky. And for the first time in 3 years, Mia felt something she'd thought was lost forever, peace. But of course, it couldn't last. A commotion erupted from the front of the inn, shouting, the sound of horses, urgent voices calling for the king. Liam was on his feet instantly, his entire demeanor shifting from relaxed mate to alert warrior. Commander Elena appeared in the garden doorway, her expression grim. Your Majesty, she said, slightly out of breath. We have a problem. 3 members of Dane's family have disappeared from Shadowpine, including his younger brother, who was 3rd in line for the alpha position. And someone broke into the room where we were holding the evidence. They didn't take everything, but they got the ledger. The one with all the names of Dane's co-conspirators. Liam's eyes flashed pure gold. When? Sometime in the last 2 hours. We had guards posted, but they were found unconscious. Drugged, not killed. Professional work. Direction. South, Elena said. Toward the border with the southern territories. If they cross before we catch them, they'll be out of our jurisdiction and free to regroup, Liam finished. He turned to Mia, conflict clear on his face. I have to go. If those conspirators escape, everything we did last night was for nothing. But, go, Mia said firmly, pushing down the wolf's whine of protest at being separated from her mate. I'll be fine. Nora's here, and your guards can protect me if needed. I'll leave half my force here, Liam said, already moving. But he paused at the doorway, turning back. Mia, I know, she said softly. Be careful, come back to me, always, he promised. Then he was gone, and Mia was left standing in the garden, her wolf howling inside her mind at the distance growing between them and their mate. Okay, can we just acknowledge that garden scene though? Loudly crying, the running, the laughter, these two finally being happy for like 5 seconds before more drama. And now Liam's gone and Mia's wolf is not happy about it. Drop a comment, do you think the conspirators are going to escape? And who do you think broke into that evidence room? Tell me your theories, if you're enjoying this roller coaster. Mia lasted exactly 3 hours before her wolf started tearing her apart from the inside. She'd tried everything Nora suggested, meditation, breathing exercises, running more laps around the garden until her human legs trembled with exhaustion. Nothing worked. Her wolf was frantic with the separation from their mate, pacing and snarling and demanding they go after him. Mate in danger. Need to protect. Need to find. Need to. Mia, you need to calm down, Nora said from across the room, though her voice was strained with worry. Your temperature is spiking. If you don't get control, your body is going to try to force a shift, and you're not ready. I know, Mia gasped, doubled over on the bed as another wave of heat crashed through her. I'm trying, but she won't listen. She's terrified something's going to happen to him and we won't be there. He's the Alpha King, Nora reminded her gently. He's survived worse than a chase through the forest. He has 30 elite warriors with him, and he knows those woods better than anyone. He'll be fine. But Mia's wolf didn't care about logic. All she knew was that her mate was far away, potentially in danger, and they were trapped here, useless and weak. A knock at the door made both women jump. One of the king's guard entered, a young man with red hair and nervous eyes. Pardon the interruption, Lady Nora, but there's a woman downstairs asking to see Mia Gray. She says she's from Shadowpine, says it's urgent and about the investigation. Mia's wolf stilled, suddenly alert. Who? She gave her name as Kara Mills. Says she was a servant in the Alpha's household, same as you. Kara. Mia remembered her, a quiet woman in her 40s who'd worked in the kitchens, who'd sometimes slipped Mia extra bread when the higher-ranking wolves weren't looking. One of the few people who'd shown her any kindness. Let her up, Mia said, pushing herself to sitting despite Nora's protest. If she came all this way, it must be important. Moments later, Kara entered, and Mia's breath caught. The woman looked terrified, her hands shaking, her face pale, her eyes darting around the room as if expecting an attack. Mia, she breathed, relief flooding her features. Thank the moon goddess. I was so afraid I wouldn't get here in time. In time for what? Nora asked sharply, already moving toward her bag of supplies, her witch instincts clearly sensing danger. Kara's eyes filled with tears. They're planning something. The conspirators who escaped, they didn't run south to get away. They ran south to get help. Ice flooded Mia's veins. Help from who? Alpha Victor Stern of the Bloodmoon Pack, Kara said, the words tumbling out fast now. He's Dane's cousin. He's the one who provided the southern witches for your binding spell, the one who's been helping Dane embezzle funds and hide them in southern territory banks. And now that Dane's been arrested, Victor is terrified the investigation will lead back to him. So he's going to try to stop it, Nora said grimly. By eliminating the evidence and the witnesses. Not just that, Kara said, her voice dropping to a horrified whisper. He's going to try to eliminate the Alpha King. The room went silent except for the sound of Mia's heart pounding in her ears. Her wolf surged forward with a roar of rage and terror that nearly drove her to her knees. What? Mia managed. How do you know this? Because I was bringing food to the prisoners last night when Dane's brother and the others broke free, Kara said. They didn't see me. I hid in the pantry. But I heard them talking. They said Victor has 50 warriors waiting at the southern border. They're going to ambush the king's party in Widow's Pass. Widow's Pass, Nora breathed, her face draining of color. It's a narrow gorge with steep cliffs on both sides. Perfect ambush location. If they trap Liam's forces in there. She didn't need to finish. Even Mia, with her limited tactical knowledge, understood. 30 warriors, no matter how elite, couldn't fight 50 in a confined space where they couldn't maneuver or retreat. We have to warn him, Mia said, already moving toward the door. We sent riders the moment I told them, Kara said quickly. But Victor's forces will reach the pass first. They had a head start and they're traveling light. The warning might not arrive in time. Mia's wolf was screaming now, clawing at the inside of her mind with desperate fury. Mate in danger. Must go. Must save. Must. How long? Mia demanded. How long until they reach the pass? Kara glanced at the window, judging the angle of the sun. Maybe an hour. 2 at most if the king's party slowed to track the fugitives. An hour. Maybe 2. Not enough time for reinforcements to arrive, probably not enough time for the warning to reach Liam before he walked into the trap. But enough time for a desperate woman with a newly awakened wolf to do something incredibly stupid. I'm going, Mia said. Absolutely not, Nora said firmly. You can barely control your wolf. You've never shifted in your life, not since you were a child. You'd be more liability than help. Then I'll go in human form, Mia said, though her wolf was already disagreeing, already pushing forward. I'll take a horse, ride fast, get there before. Before you what? Nora interrupted. Fight 50 warriors. You're not trained, you're not armed, and you're still recovering from silver poisoning. You'd die, Mia, and then Liam would feel it through the bond and lose focus, and he'd die too. Is that what you want? I want to save my mate. Mia shouted, and the words came out half growl, her wolf bleeding through. I want to do something instead of sitting here uselessly while he walks into a death trap. Then let me help you, Nora said, and something in her tone made Mia pause. The witch's expression had shifted, become calculating. There might be a way. A dangerous way, possibly a stupid way, but a way nonetheless. Tell me. Nora crossed to her bag and pulled out a small crystal vial filled with silver liquid that seemed to glow from within. This is moonwater, extremely rare, extremely powerful. It's used to accelerate transformations, to help newly bitten wolves survive their first shift, to force a shift in someone who's never done it before, Mia finished, understanding dawning. It's dangerous, Nora warned. Your wolf has been suppressed for 3 years. Your body doesn't remember the transformation. Forcing it with moonwater could tear you apart, could kill you, could leave you stuck between forms and insane. But if it works, if you survive it, you'd shift faster than you ever would naturally. And as the mate of an alpha king, your wolf would be stronger than normal, faster. You might actually reach the pass in time. And if I don't survive it, then you die here, in this room, and Liam feels your death through the bond right before Victor's warriors slaughter him in the pass, Nora said bluntly. At least if you try, you have a chance of saving him. Of saving both of you. Mia's wolf was already screaming agreement, already reaching for the vial. But the human part of her, the logical part, hesitated. What would Liam want me to do? She asked quietly. Stay here, stay safe, live even if he doesn't, Nora said without hesitation. But Liam isn't here, and I'm guessing you don't care what he'd want right now. She was right. Mia didn't care. Her mate was in danger, and every instinct she possessed, human and wolf both, was demanding she go to him, consequences be damned. Give it to me, Mia said, holding out her hand. Nora hesitated one more moment, then uncorked the vial and placed it in Mia's palm. Drink it all at once. Then get outside immediately, the shift will start within seconds and it's going to be violent. I'll have horses ready and guards to escort you, but once you're in wolf form, you're on your own. Can you navigate to Widow's Pass? I grew up in these forests, Mia said. I know every trail, every shortcut. She paused, meeting Nora's eyes. If I don't make it, you will, Nora interrupted fiercely. You're stronger than you know, Mia Gray. Your parents survived years under Dane's thumb, protecting their pack even when it cost them everything. That strength is in your blood. Trust it. Trust your wolf. And for the love of the moon goddess, run like hell. Mia nodded once, then downed the moonwater in a single swallow. The effect was instantaneous and excruciating. Liquid fire exploded through her veins, burning away everything human, everything controlled. Her wolf surged forward with a triumphant howl, no longer caged, no longer suppressed, no longer willing to wait another second. Mia barely made it to the garden before her bones started breaking. She collapsed on the grass, screaming as her spine curved and reformed, as her hands twisted into paws, as fur erupted across her skin in waves of silver white. It felt like dying and being reborn simultaneously. every cell in her body tearing apart and reconstructing into something new, something wild, something free. And through it all, her wolf was laughing with savage joy. Finally, finally free, finally strong, finally, the shift completed. Mia stood on 4 legs for the first time in 3 years, and the world exploded into color and scent and sound. She could smell Liam's trail from that morning, could hear his heartbeat in her memory, could feel the bond pulling her south like a rope around her soul. Mate, danger, go. 2 of the King's Guard had brought horses, but Mia didn't need them. She took off running, and her wolf form was glorious, faster than any horse, stronger than any human, built for endurance and speed and the pure joy of the hunt. The forest blurred around her. She leapt over fallen logs, splashed through streams, navigated by instinct and memory and the bond that pulled her steadily south. Behind her, she heard horses trying to keep up, heard the guards shouting for her to wait, but she couldn't. Wouldn't. Every second mattered now. As she ran, she became aware of other things, the way her enhanced senses picked up details she'd never noticed as a human. The deer trail that veered east, marked by crushed undergrowth. The scent of blood and fear where something had died recently. The faint smell of smoke that suggested a campfire ahead, and beneath it, the acrid tang of nervous sweat. Victor's warriors. She was getting close. Mia slowed, letting her training, such as it was, take over. She'd watched the pack warriors practice enough times, had overheard enough tactical discussions while serving meals. Ambushes required positioning, required the element of surprise. If she could disrupt that, cause chaos before Liam's forces entered the kill zone. The pass came into view, a narrow gorge with steep cliffs rising on both sides, the path through barely wide enough for 3 horses abreast. And positioned on the cliffs, hidden behind rocks and trees, she could see them. 50 wolves in human form, armed with bows and spears and swords, waiting in perfect silence for their prey. And there, just entering the southern end of the pass, was Liam's party. Mia's wolf assessed the situation in an instant. She couldn't fight 50 warriors. But she could warn Liam, could give him time to retreat or prepare, could. A hand clamped down on her scruff, yanking her backwards. Mia yelped and twisted, her wolf's instincts taking over. She snapped at her attacker, teeth flashing, only to freeze when she recognized the scent. Commander Elena stood there, in her own wolf form, a massive gray beast with ice-blue eyes. She'd shifted silently, ambushed Mia with the skill of a trained warrior, and now she was holding her in place with one massive paw while the other gestured urgently, wait. Mia wanted to snarl, to fight, to break free. But Elena was right. Charging in now would just alert the ambushers, would ruin any element of surprise. They needed a plan. Elena released her and shifted back to human form, moving with the unnatural grace of someone who'd shifted thousands of times. Listen carefully, she whispered, barely audible even with Mia's enhanced hearing. The other guards are circling around to the north cliff. They'll cause a distraction, make Victor's forces think they're under attack from behind. That's when you run to Liam, warn him, and get him out of the pass. Can you do that? Mia shifted back, and was shocked when it worked, when her body obeyed and reformed into human shape within seconds. She was naked, covered in dirt and blood from the violent transformation, but she was human and could speak. Yes, she gasped. But, an arrow whistled through the air, missing Elena's head by inches. They'd been spotted. Now, Elena roared, already shifting back. Go, go, go. Chaos erupted. The King's Guard attacked the northern cliff face, and suddenly Victor's careful ambush dissolved into a brawl. Wolves shifted, weapons clashed, and the narrow pass became a nightmare of violence and confusion. Mia didn't think. She just ran. In human form, naked and vulnerable, she sprinted down the southern approach to the pass, her legs pumping, her lungs burning. Ahead, she could see Liam wheeling his horse around, gold eyes blazing as he assessed the ambush, already shouting orders to his warriors. Liam, she screamed. His head snapped toward her, and his eyes went wide with shock and horror. Mia, she reached him just as Victor's warriors began firing down from the cliffs, arrows meant for the king's party now raining down indiscriminately as panic set in. Liam vaulted from his horse and caught her, dragging her behind a boulder as arrows clattered against stone. "What the hell are you doing here?" he demanded, and she could feel his terror through the bond, could feel how close he was to losing control. "You could have been killed." "You, Victor Stern," Mia panted. "Ambush. Dane's cousin. He was waiting to trap you in the pass, but Alina's forces attacked from the north and disrupted it." Understanding flashed across Liam's face. He pulled her close for one fierce kiss, then shifted, and his wolf was magnificent. Massive and midnight black, with gold eyes that blazed with alpha authority, radiating power that made every other wolf in the pass instinctively submit. He threw his head back and howled, a sound of pure command that echoed off the cliffs. And immediately, his warriors responded, their formation shifting from defensive to offensive, moving with practiced precision to flank and surround Victor's now disorganized forces. Mia shifted too, her wolf eager to fight beside her mate. But Liam positioned himself between her and the battle, protective and possessive, making it clear that she was to stay behind him, to stay safe. The fight was brutal but brief. Victor's warriors were trained, but they'd lost their ambush advantage and now faced the Alpha King himself, his power pressing down on them like a physical weight. One by one, they dropped their weapons and submitted, until only a handful were still fighting. And there, at the center of the remaining resistance, was a wolf Mia didn't recognize, massive and rust-colored, with scarred flanks and eyes that burned with hatred. Victor Stern. He was staring at Liam with pure murder in his gaze, and even from here, Mia could see the calculation happening. He was going to run. Going to try to escape into the southern territories where Liam's authority didn't reach. But he'd have to get past the king first. Victor lunged, incredibly fast despite his size, teeth aimed for Liam's throat. Liam twisted, avoiding the killing blow, and the two alphas collided in a clash of fur and fangs and ancient dominance challenges. Mia wanted to help, every instinct screaming at her to protect her mate. But this was alpha business, a formal challenge that had to be resolved wolf to wolf, with no interference. So she watched, heart in her throat, as her mate fought for both their lives. The fight lasted 90 seconds. That was all it took for Liam to prove why he was the Alpha King of North America and Victor Stern was just a Southern Territory alpha drunk on borrowed power and embezzled wealth. Victor was fast, experienced, vicious. But Liam was faster, stronger, and he fought with the cold, calculated precision of someone who'd been defending his crown for 15 years against challengers far more dangerous than a corrupt alpha with delusions of grandeur. The rust-colored wolf lunged again, going for Liam's throat. Liam sidestepped and caught Victor's shoulder in his jaws, teeth sinking deep. Victor howled and thrashed, but Liam held on, using his superior weight to drive the other alpha down into the dirt. For a moment, it looked like it was over. Victor went, still, submitting, and relief flooded through Mia's chest so intensely she nearly collapsed. Then Victor's eyes flickered towards something behind Liam, and Mia's wolf screamed a warning. Trap. Behind. Danger. Mia shifted and lunged without thinking, her newly awakened wolf moving on pure instinct. She collided with another wolf mid-leap, one of Victor's warriors who'd been hiding, waiting for exactly this moment to drive a silver blade into the king's exposed back. The blade meant for Liam's spine caught Mia's shoulder instead. White-hot agony exploded through her body. Silver burned like liquid fire, and through the bond she felt Liam's answering roar of rage and terror. But she'd done it. She'd saved him. The warrior beneath her went limp as Elena appeared from nowhere and tore out his throat, efficient and brutal. Liam released Victor and was at Mia's side in an instant, shifting back to human form, his hands gentle despite the fury blazing in his gold eyes. Mia, look at me. She tried to shift back, but her wolf was in too much pain, whimpering and trying to curl around the wound. Blood, her blood, was soaking into the dirt, steaming where it touched the silver blade still embedded in her shoulder. Don't pull it out, Elena snapped, appearing beside them in human form, completely unbothered by her own nakedness as she assessed the wound with a warrior's practiced eye. It's close to an artery. We pull it now, she bleeds out before we can cauterize. Then what do we do? Liam's voice was deadly calm, but Mia could feel his panic through the bond, could feel how close he was to losing control completely. We get her to Nora. Now. Elena was already shouting orders, and suddenly there were hands lifting Mia carefully, placing her on a makeshift stretcher. Someone bind Victor and his surviving warriors. I want them in chains and ready for transport within 5 minutes. The rest of you, clear a path back to Millbrook. The king's mate is wounded and we are not stopping for anything. Through the haze of pain, Mia caught one last glimpse of Victor, still in wolf form, bleeding from multiple wounds, but alive and conscious. And the look in his eyes as he watched her being carried away wasn't defeat or submission. It was satisfaction. He wanted this, Mia's wolf whispered weakly. Wanted you hurt. Wanted the king distracted. This isn't over. Then the pain overwhelmed everything else, and darkness crept in around the edges of her vision. Stay with me, Liam commanded, his hand gripping hers as they moved. That's an order, Mia. You don't get to die saving me. You don't get to leave me when I just found you. Stay with me, she tried. Moon goddess, she tried. But the silver was in her blood now, poisoning her system, and her newly awakened wolf didn't know how to fight it the way an experienced shifter would. The last thing she heard before unconsciousness claimed her was Liam's broken whisper, please. Mia woke to voices arguing. Absolute recklessness. She forced her first shift in 3 years using moonwater, then ran 10 miles through dangerous forest, then threw herself in front of a silver blade. She's lucky to be alive. That was Nora, furious and frightened in equal measure. She saved my life. Liam's voice, hollow and exhausted. If she hadn't tackled that warrior, I'd be dead right now. The blade would have severed my spine. And you'd rather she die instead? Of course not. But I can't. Liam's voice cracked. I can't lose her, Nora. I just found her. If that silver reaches her heart. It won't, Nora said firmly. I've extracted the blade and flushed most of the poison from her system. But Liam, you need to understand, her wolf is brand new. Inexperienced. She doesn't have the natural resistance to silver that an adult shifter would have developed over years of exposure. This wound would be serious for anyone, but for her it's potentially fatal. Then what do I do? Liam asked, and Mia had never heard him sound so helpless. Tell me how to fix this. There's one option, Nora said slowly. But you're not going to like it. Tell me. Complete the mate bond. Mark her. The connection would give her access to your strength, your wolf's experience, your natural resistance to silver. It might be enough to tip the balance, to give her body what it needs to fight off the poison. Silence. Then, she hasn't agreed to be marked. She wanted time to choose, to be certain. She chose when she threw herself in front of that blade, Nora interrupted. She chose when she forced a shift she wasn't ready for to come save you. Stop being noble and start being practical, Liam. Mark your mate before you lose her. If I mark her while she's unconscious, while she can't consent, then she'll wake up alive and you can grovel for forgiveness, Nora snapped. Better an angry mate than a dead one. Mia wanted to speak, to tell them she was awake, to tell Liam that yes, she chose him, she'd already chosen him. But her body wouldn't cooperate, her wolf too weak to shift, her human voice trapped somewhere beneath the pain. She felt Liam move closer, felt his hand gentle on her face. I don't know if you can hear me, he said softly. But if you can, I'm sorry. For this, for all of it. I promised you a choice and I'm taking it away. But I'd rather have you hate me and alive than love me and dead. Then his teeth sank into the junction of her neck and shoulder, the traditional mating mark, and the world exploded. The mate bond, which had been a gentle hum in the background, roared to life with the force of a wildfire. Suddenly Mia could feel everything Liam felt, his terror and love and desperate hope, his wolf's fierce protectiveness, his strength pouring into her like water into a cracked vessel. And with that strength came knowledge. Her wolf, confused and fumbling, suddenly had a guide. Liam's wolf reached across the bond and showed her how to fight the silver, how to isolate it in her system, how to push it out through her pores and breath rather than letting it destroy her from within. The pain began to recede. Slowly, agonizingly, but definitely receding. Mia's eyes fluttered open. Liam was there, hovering over her, his face streaked with tears he probably didn't realize he was crying. When he saw her awake, his expression transformed, relief so profound it nearly broke her. "Hey," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "Hey yourself," he said, and tried to smile, but it wobbled dangerously. "You scared 10 years off my life." "Sorry." Mia tried to move and immediately regretted it. Her shoulder was bandaged heavily, and even with the bond's help, silver poisoning was no joke. "Did we win?" "We won," Liam confirmed. "Victor and 15 of his warriors are in custody. The rest either fled south or surrendered. We lost 3 of our own, but it could have been so much worse if you hadn't warned us." His hand found hers, gripping tight. "You were incredible and terrifying, and I'm never letting you out of my sight again." "You marked me," Mia said, touching her neck where she could feel the tender bite wound, already healing faster than it should thanks to the bond. Guilt flashed across Liam's face. "I did. Without your permission. I'm sorry, Mia. I know you wanted time to choose, and I took that from you. If you can't forgive." "Liam," Mia interrupted. "Shut up." He blinked, startled. "I chose you the moment I drank that moonwater," Mia said firmly. "I chose you when I ran through the forest to warn you. I chose you when I threw myself in front of that blade. The mark is just making it official." She tugged him closer with her good arm. "I'm not angry. I'm grateful. And I love you." The words hung in the air between them. Mia hadn't planned to say them, especially not now, not like this. But they were true. Somewhere between being carried from the village square and waking up with a mate mark on her neck, she'd fallen completely in love with the impossible man who'd given her back her life. "I love you too," Liam said, his voice rough with emotion. "More than I thought I could love anyone. You're everything, Mia, everything." He kissed her then, gentle and reverent, mindful of her injuries. And through the bond, Mia felt the truth of his words, felt the depth of his love and commitment, felt their wolves twining together in perfect harmony. When they finally broke apart, Nora was standing in the doorway with a satisfied smile. "Well," the witch said dryly, "now that you two have finally stopped being idiots about your feelings, we need to discuss the rather large problem we still have." Mia's contentment evaporated. "What problem?" "Victor's interrogation," Nora said, her expression darkening. "He's talking, very freely, actually. Too freely. And what he's saying is concerning." Liam was instantly alert, his alpha persona sliding back into place. "What did he say?" "That Dane wasn't the mastermind," Nora said quietly. "That he was just a puppet. That the real conspiracy goes much higher than we thought." She paused. "Liam, Victor claims there are 3 other alphas involved in the embezzlement scheme. 3 alphas who helped fund Dane's operation, who provided the witches for Mia's binding, who arranged the deaths of her parents." "Who?" Liam demanded. "He's refusing to name them," Nora admitted. "Says he'll only talk to the Council of Alphas directly, that he has information about corruption that goes all the way to—" She stopped, looking uncomfortable. "To what?" Mia asked, though dread was already cooling in her stomach. Nora met Liam's eyes. "To the council itself. Victor claims at least 1 council member is compromised." The room went deadly silent. The Council of Alphas was the highest governing body in Shifter society, 12 alphas chosen from across North America to advise the king and maintain law and order. If one of them was corrupt, if they'd been helping Dane all along. "It's a bluff," Liam said, but he sounded uncertain. "He's trying to create doubt, to make us question everyone so he can slip away in the chaos." "Maybe," Nora agreed, "but what if it's not? What if there really is a council member involved? Someone who has access to your movements, your plans, your security details. Someone who could have told Victor exactly when you'd be traveling through Widow's Pass." Mia watched the implications sink in, watched Liam's expression shift from dismissive to calculating to deeply troubled. "We need to call a council session," he said finally. "Get everyone in one place where I can watch them, question them, figure out who, if anyone, is compromised. But we do it carefully. If there really is a traitor, we can't tip them off that we're suspicious." "What about me?" Mia asked. "What do I do?" Liam turned to her, and his expression was conflicted. "You heal. You stay here, under guard, where you're safe." "No," Mia interrupted. "I'm not hiding while you walk into a potential snake pit. If there's a council member who wanted my parents dead, who helped suppress my wolf, I have a right to face them. You're still recovering from silver poisoning, Liam argued. You can barely stand. Then I'll sit, Mia said stubbornly. Liam, I'm your mate now. Actually, officially your mate. That means I have a role in pack politics, in council sessions. You can't protect me from everything, and you shouldn't try. She's right, Nora said, though she looked pained to admit it. The council will want to meet Mia anyway. The Alpha King's mate is big news, especially when she's the daughter of a murdered beta. If you try to hide her, it'll look suspicious. Like you're afraid she can't handle the pressure. Liam's jaw clenched. Mia could feel his resistance through the bond, could feel his desperate need to keep her safe, warring with his understanding that she was right. Fine, he said finally. But you don't leave my side. Not for a moment. And at the first sign of danger, I run, Mia finished. I know, I'm not stupid, Liam. I don't have a death wish. You threw yourself in front of a silver blade, he pointed out. To save my mate, Mia countered. That's different. Liam looked like he wanted to argue, but Nora interrupted. The council session is in 3 days, in the capital. That gives Mia time to heal and gives us time to prepare. But Liam, her expression turned grave. If Victor is telling the truth, if there really is a traitor on the council, then going to that session could be the most dangerous thing you've ever done. Good thing I have an incredibly brave mate who throws herself at danger for fun, Liam said dryly, though his hand tightened on Mia's. Through the bond, Mia felt his fear. Felt his certainty that the coming days would change everything. Felt his desperate hope that they'd both survive what was coming. And beneath it all, she felt something else. Something Victor had said during his interrogation that Nora hadn't mentioned, that was lurking in her memories like a shadow. This isn't over. The king thinks he's won, but he has no idea how deep this goes. No idea who he can trust. And when the truth comes out, when he learns what his own council has been hiding, it's going to destroy him. Mia shivered despite the warm room, and Liam pulled her closer, protective and possessive. Whatever happens, he murmured against her hair, we face it together. Agreed. Agreed, Mia whispered back. But even as she said it, she couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. The capital city of Silvercrest was nothing like Shadowpine. Mia pressed her face to the carriage window, watching in awe as they passed through the massive stone gates that marked the entrance to the Alpha King's seat of power. Where Shadowpine had been a small village of timber buildings and dirt roads, Silvercrest was a sprawling city of cobblestone streets, stone buildings that rose 3 and 4 stories high, and thousands of wolves moving through the streets in organized chaos. It's beautiful, she breathed. It's a political nightmare, Liam said from beside her, though his tone was fond. He'd barely left her side since the ambush 3 days ago, hovering like she might shatter if he looked away too long. 12 different pack territories represented, each with their own agendas, their own loyalties, their own secrets. And somewhere in that mess, possibly a traitor. The carriage rolled through the streets toward the council building, a massive structure at the city's heart with white marble columns and silver wolf statues flanking the entrance. Pack members lined the streets, curious to catch a glimpse of their king and his newly claimed mate. Mia fought the urge to shrink back from their stares. She wore fine clothes now, a deep blue dress that Liam had commissioned, with long sleeves to hide the still healing silver wound on her shoulder, and her hair had been styled by actual servants rather than hastily braided by her own hands. But she still felt like an imposter. Like at any moment someone would recognize her as the wolfless servant who'd scrubbed floors and hauled water. Hey, Liam's hand found hers under the privacy of her cloak. You belong here. You're the Alpha King's mate, daughter of a beta, and the woman brave enough to save my life. Hold your head high. Easy for you to say, Mia muttered. You've been doing this your whole life. And I still hate it, Liam admitted. The politics, the posturing, the way every conversation has 3 layers of meaning. But you know what makes it bearable? Knowing I don't have to face it alone anymore. Through the bond, Mia felt the truth of his words. Felt how much her presence steadied him, gave him strength. It helped, a little. The carriage stopped before the council building. Commander Elena was there immediately, flanking them with 10 guards as they descended. Nora followed in a second carriage, her expression grave as she surveyed the crowd. "The council is already assembled," Elena reported quietly as they climbed the marble steps. "All 12 alphas present, plus their seconds and advisors. They're not happy about the emergency session. They'll be less happy when they hear what Victor had to say," Liam said grimly. The entrance hall was stunning, vaulted ceilings painted with scenes of wolf hunts, silver chandeliers catching the afternoon light, floors of polished marble that reflected everything like dark mirrors. And everywhere, the scent of power. 12 alphas in one building created a pressure that made Mia's wolf whimper and press close to Liam's stronger presence. "Steady," Liam murmured, his hand at the small of her back. "They can smell fear. Don't give them the satisfaction." They were led through a series of corridors to the council chamber, a circular room with 12 seats arranged in a semicircle facing a raised platform where the Alpha King's throne sat. The seats were already occupied. Mia's breath caught as she took in the assembled alphas. She recognized a few from stories her father had told. Alpha Zane Morrison of the Northern Packs, a grizzled man in his 60s with more scars than smooth skin. Alpha Sophia Chen of the Western Territories, young and sharp-eyed with the kind of beauty that was also a weapon. Alpha Marcus Reed of the Coastal Packs, broad and jovial but with intelligence gleaming behind his friendly smile. And there, in the 7th seat, was an alpha who made Mia's wolf snarl with instant, visceral hatred. He was in his 50s, silver threading through his dark hair, with a face that might have been handsome if not for the cruelty in his eyes. He wore expensive clothes and multiple rings that caught the light, and when his gaze landed on Mia, something flickered in his expression. Recognition. Guilt. "Who is that?" she whispered to Liam. "Alpha Nathan Cross of the Eastern Territories," Liam murmured back. "Why, I don't know," Mia admitted. "But my wolf hates him." Liam's eyes sharpened, but before he could respond, Zane Morrison stood and banged his staff against the floor, the traditional opening of a council session. "The Council of Alphas recognizes His Majesty, Alpha King Liam Thorne," Zane announced. "And his mate, Lady Mia Gray of Shadowpine." The room erupted in whispers. Apparently the news of Liam's mating hadn't reached everyone yet, or they hadn't believed it. Several alphas looked shocked, others calculating, and Nathan Cross's expression went carefully blank. Liam led Mia to the platform, but instead of sitting on the throne alone, he had a second chair brought and positioned beside it. The message was clear: his mate was his equal, would sit at his side, would have a voice in council matters. Several of the more traditional alphas looked scandalized. "Good. I've called this emergency session," Liam began, his voice carrying easily through the chamber, "because we have uncovered a conspiracy that threatens the integrity of our entire governing system." He proceeded to lay out everything: Dane's embezzlement, the murder of Mia's parents, the binding spell, Victor's involvement, and finally, the ambush at Widow's Pass. "Victor Stern is currently in custody," Liam continued. "And he has made serious allegations. He claims that at least 3 alphas on this council were complicit in the conspiracy. That they helped fund Dane's operation, provided resources for the binding spell cast on my mate, and possibly knew about the planned ambush." The chamber exploded into chaos. Alphas shouting denials, demanding evidence, accusing each other. Liam let it continue for exactly 30 seconds before releasing a pulse of alpha authority that had everyone snapping their mouths shut. "I don't make these accusations lightly," he said into the sudden silence. "But I also can't ignore them. Victor has offered to provide names and evidence in exchange for leniency. And before anyone suggests he's lying to save himself, we've verified several of his claims. The money trail is real. The connection to the Southern Witches is real. And the fact that Victor knew my exact travel plans for the day of the ambush suggests someone close to this council leaked that information." Sophia Chen leaned forward, her dark eyes sharp. "What exactly are you proposing, Your Majesty?" "A full investigation," Liam said. "Every alpha's finances will be audited. Every communication with Dane or Victor will be traced. We will hunt down every thread of this conspiracy until we know exactly who was involved and how deep the corruption runs." "That's an outrageous violation of privacy," Nathan Cross said, standing. His voice was smooth, reasonable. We are alphas, Your Majesty, not criminals to be investigated on the word of a confessed conspirator. If you accuse us without proof. I have proof, Liam interrupted. Victor provided bank records. And your name, Alpha Cross, appears on several transfers to Dane Winter's accounts. Care to explain that? The room went dead silent. Nathan's face remained calm, but Mia saw his hands clench into fists. Those were legitimate business transactions. Dane and I had timber contracts. Timber contracts that coincidentally began 1 month after Mia's parents died, Liam said. Timber from Shadowpine lands that should have been sold through the Pack's communal fund, not through private contracts with individual alphas. Are you accusing me of murder? Nathan demanded, his voice rising. I'm accusing you of corruption, Liam said coldly. The murder investigation is ongoing. But yes, Nathan, you're a suspect. As are 2 others whose names Victor provided. Who? Sophia asked. Liam's gaze swept the assembled alphas. Alpha Jacob Turner of the Midwest Territories, and Alpha Richard Stone of the Mountain Packs. 2 more alphas stood, both of them red-faced and furious. Turner was a massive man who looked like he could snap someone in half. Stone was smaller but wiry, with the kind of face that had probably never smiled genuinely in his life. This is a witch hunt, Turner snarled. You find your precious mate and suddenly you're willing to tear apart the council on her word. Not her word, Liam said. Victor's. And the bank records. And the testimony of Hannah, the witch who cast the binding spell, before she died. Convenient that she's dead, Stone said. Can't contradict anything you claim, she said. Mia had been silent throughout the exchange, but something in Stone's tone, the casual dismissal of Hannah's death, the implication that Liam was lying, made her wolf snarl. She died saving my life, Mia said, and 12 pairs of alpha eyes swiveled to her. She forced herself to hold their gazes, to not back down. She confessed because she wanted to do something right before the end. Because she'd been carrying the guilt of what she'd done for 3 years. And she named you, Alpha Stone. Said you were one of the witches who provided the southern witches who helped with my binding. Stone's expression flickered, just for a moment, with something that might have been panic. I've never met a southern witch in my life. Then you won't mind submitting to a truth verification spell, Nora said, speaking for the first time from where she stood at the edge of the chamber. I can perform one right now. It won't harm you if you're telling the truth. I will not submit to magical interrogation like a common criminal. Stone shouted. Then you've just confirmed your guilt, Sophia said dryly. An innocent alpha would welcome the chance to clear their name. The chamber descended into arguments again. Alphas taking sides, accusations flying, the carefully maintained peace of the council shattering like glass. And through it all, Mia watched Nathan Cross. He'd sat back down, his expression neutral, but his fingers were drumming on the armrest of his chair in a nervous pattern. And his eyes kept flickering to her, not to Liam, not to the other accused alphas, but to her specifically. Like he was assessing a threat. Liam, Mia murmured, too quiet for anyone but her mate to hear through the bond. Nathan knows something. Something about me specifically. How can you tell? The way he's looking at me. Like he's trying to figure out if I remember something. Liam's hand tightened on hers. Remember what? I don't know, but my wolf is screaming that he's dangerous. That we should. She broke off as Nathan suddenly stood, his movement casual but purposeful. Your Majesty, Nathan said, his voice cutting through the chaos. I believe we need to address the elephant in the room. Which is? Liam asked warily. Your mate, Nathan said, and his smile was all teeth. Lady Mia Gray, daughter of the late Beta Thomas Gray and 3rd Clara Gray of Shadowpine. The woman whose parents conveniently died right before they could expose Dane's corruption. We know the timeline, Liam said coldly. What's your point? My point, Nathan said, is that you're asking us to trust the testimony of a woman who has every reason to lie. Who was, by all accounts, a worthless servant in her own pack until you swooped in and claimed her as your mate. How do we know she isn't manipulating you? Using the mate bond to feed you false information about respected alphas. The room erupted again, but this time it was different. Some alphas were nodding, considering Nathan's words. The mate bond was sacred, but it wasn't infallible. Bonds had been exploited before. Mia felt Liam's fury spike through the connection, felt him about to tear Nathan apart verbally and possibly physically. But something made her speak first. "You were there," she said quietly. Nathan froze. "What? You were there the night my parents died," Mia continued, and suddenly she could see it. A memory she'd suppressed or forgotten, swimming up from the depths. "I was 12 years old, and my father was hosting a meeting of allied alphas. You came to Shadowpine for that meeting. I remember because you gave me candy, told me I'd grow up to be a beautiful wolf." Nathan's face had gone pale. "That was 14 years ago. You can't possibly." "I remember," Mia said, and more details were flooding back now. "You met with my father in his study. I was supposed to be in bed, but I snuck down to the kitchen for water. I heard you arguing. You wanted my father to alter some records, to hide transactions. He refused. Said he wouldn't betray the pack's trust, even for an old friend." "You're making this up," Nathan said, but his voice was shaking now. "You told him he was making a mistake," Mia continued, the memory sharp and clear now, no longer buried under years of grief and magical suppression. "You said people who refused to cooperate tended to have accidents. My father threw you out. Told you that you were never welcome in Shadowpine again." She turned to face Nathan fully, her wolf rising to the surface, lending her strength. 2 weeks later, my parents died when their wagon wheel broke on the mountain pass. A wheel that had been perfectly fine that morning, according to the packhouse records. A wheel that someone must have sabotaged. The chamber was utterly silent now. Every eye was on Nathan, watching as the color drained from his face, watching as his carefully constructed innocence crumbled. "You have no proof," he whispered. "But we will," Liam said, standing. His power filled the room, ancient and absolute. "Because I am ordering a full investigation into my mate's parents' deaths. And Nathan Cross, you are hereby suspended from council duties pending the outcome of that investigation." "You can't do that," Nathan shouted. "The council charter requires. The council charter gives me full authority to suspend any member suspected of treason or murder," Liam interrupted. "Guards, take Alpha Cross into custody." Elena moved forward with 4 warriors. For a moment, it looked like Nathan might fight. His eyes flashed gold, his wolf surging forward. But he looked around the chamber and saw no allies, no one willing to defend him now that Mia's testimony had shattered his facade. He submitted, allowing himself to be shackled with iron chains. As he was led past Mia, he paused. "You should have stayed suppressed," he hissed. "Should have stayed broken and ignorant. Now you've doomed yourself and your precious mate. The people I work for don't forgive, and they don't forget." Before Mia could respond, Elena yanked him forward and he was gone, his threats echoing in the sudden silence. Liam pulled Mia close, and she could feel his wolf pressing against hers through the bond, protective and proud. "You did it," he murmured. "You broke the case wide open." "He said he works for people," Mia whispered back. "Plural. There are more conspirators. People higher up than him." "I know," Liam said grimly. "But we'll find them. Together." The council session dissolved into chaos as alphas demanded answers, proclaimed their innocence, or quietly made plans to distance themselves from the accused. But Mia barely heard any of it. Because as Nathan had been led away, she'd caught sight of someone in the gallery above, a face in the shadows, watching the proceedings with cold calculation. And when that person's eyes had met hers, Mia's wolf had screamed a warning so loud it nearly drove her to her knees. She knew that scent, knew that presence. One of the southern witches who'd helped bind her wolf 3 years ago was here. In the capital, in the council building, and judging by the way they smiled before disappearing into the shadows, they weren't done with Mia yet. "Okay, I am screaming." Mia just casually dropped a 14-year-old memory that she didn't even know she had and destroyed Nathan Cross in front of the entire council. But that ending though, one of the witches is here. In the capital, and Nathan said he works for people, which means this goes even deeper. Drop a comment. Who do you think Nathan works for? What do you think the witch wants? And are we trusting any of these council alphas at this point? If you're not subscribed, you're missing the most insane political thriller, romance combo ever. Hit that button. Fire crown. Mia didn't tell Liam about the witch. She knew she should have. Should have grabbed his arm the moment the council session ended and told him what she'd seen, what she'd felt. But something held her back. A bone-deep certainty that if she spoke up now, surrounded by alphas and advisors and people whose loyalties were questionable, the witch would disappear like smoke. No, she needed to handle this herself. Bad idea, her wolf warned. Mate should know. Mate can protect. Mate is dealing with 3 arrested alphas and a council in chaos, Mia thought back. I can handle one witch. Her wolf growled disagreement but fell silent as Liam guided her through the corridors back to their private chambers. The rooms he'd given her were stunning: bedroom, sitting room, and bathing room all decorated in silver and deep blue, with windows overlooking the city below. A far cry from her servant's cottage in Shadowpine. You were incredible today, Liam said, pulling her close once they were alone. His hands were gentle on her waist, careful of her still healing shoulder. The way you confronted Nathan, the memory you recovered, you may have just solved your parents' murder. Maybe, Mia said, but her mind was elsewhere, tracking that foreign scent she'd caught in the gallery. It had been faint, masked by dozens of other scents, but unmistakable once she'd recognized it. Nightshade and copper and something oily that made her skin crawl. Hey, Liam tipped her chin up, forcing her to meet his eyes. What's wrong? I can feel through the bond that you're agitated. Mia hesitated. She could lie, the bond wasn't strong enough yet for him to read her thoughts, only her emotions. But lying to her mate felt wrong on a fundamental level. I'm just processing everything, she said, which was technically true. It's been a long day. Liam studied her for a moment, clearly unconvinced, but before he could press further, a knock sounded at the door. Elena entered, her expression grim. Your Majesty, we have a problem. Victor Stern is asking to speak with Lady Mia. Privately. Absolutely not, Liam said immediately. He says he has information about the witch who bound her wolf, Elena continued. Says he'll only share it with her, and only if she comes alone. Mia's heart stuttered. Does he know the witch is here? In the capital. Elena's eyes sharpened. Why would you think? Is she? Mia interrupted. As one of the witches here. A pause. Then Elena nodded slowly. We've had reports of unusual magical signatures near the council building over the past 2 days. Nora is investigating, but so far she hasn't been able to pin down the source. It's her, Mia said with certainty. One of the southern witches. I saw her during the session, in the gallery. She smiled at me and disappeared. Liam's power flared, sudden and violent. And you didn't think to mention this. I just did, Mia said, meeting his gold-flashed eyes without flinching. And before you say I should have told you immediately, you were busy dismantling the council and arresting 3 alphas. I was going to tell you once we were alone. You don't keep things from me, Liam said, and his voice held an edge of command that made her wolf want to submit. Not when it concerns your safety. Never when it concerns your safety. And you don't order me around like I'm some fragile thing that needs constant protection, Mia shot back, her own wolf rising to meet his challenge. I'm your mate, not your child. I can handle myself. They stared at each other, power crackling in the air between them, his alpha dominance meeting her newfound strength, neither willing to back down. Elena cleared her throat. As much as I'm enjoying this display of mate dynamics, we still have the issue of Victor's request. He claims he can tell Lady Mia where to find the witch, but only if she speaks with him alone. It's a trap, Liam said flatly. Probably, Elena agreed. But Victor is in iron chains, in a warded cell, with 6 guards outside. He can't hurt her physically. And if he really does know where the witch is, then I need to talk to him, Mia finished. She turned to Liam. I'm going. You can come with me or not, but I'm going. For a moment she thought he might actually forbid it. His jaw was tight, his hands clenched, every line of his body screaming resistance. But then something in his expression softened fractionally. Together, he said. We go together, or not at all. Mia wanted to argue. Victor had specifically said alone, but she recognized the compromise for what it was. Liam was terrified of losing her, and she was asking him to let her walk into potential danger. The least she could do was let him be there. Together, she agreed. The dungeons beneath the council building were nothing like the primitive cells in Shadowpine. These were actual stone chambers with iron bars, magical wards carved into the walls, and enchantments that suppressed a prisoner's ability to shift. Victor sat in the center of his cell, still in human form, looking surprisingly calm for a man facing execution. "Lady Mia," he said as they approached, inclining his head with mock respect. "And the Alpha King. I asked for a private audience." "My mate goes nowhere without me," Liam said coldly. "Speak or don't. I don't particularly care either way." Victor smiled, a sharp, unpleasant expression. Still so protective. It's almost sweet. His eyes found Mia's. "Tell me, little servant girl, how does it feel to go from scrubbing floors to sharing the king's bed?" "Quite the upgrade." "Tell me," Mia countered, "how does it feel to go from alpha of a territory to prisoner awaiting execution?" "Quite the downgrade." Victor's smile didn't waver, but something flickered in his eyes. "Respect, maybe. I can see why he chose you. You've got spine hidden under all that trauma." "You said you had information about the witch," Mia said, refusing to be baited. "So talk. First, I want a deal," Victor said. "Information in exchange for leniency. Life imprisonment instead of execution." "No," Liam said immediately. "Then enjoy hunting for the witch on your own," Victor said, leaning back against the stone wall. "I'm sure you'll find her eventually. Probably right around the time she completes the ritual she's been preparing." Mia's blood ran cold. "What ritual?" "Ah, now you're interested," Victor purred. "The binding spell on your wolf was never meant to be permanent, little Mia. It was meant to be a foundation. A framework for something much more powerful." "Explain," Liam commanded, his alpha voice making the words an order impossible to resist. Victor's expression twisted with resentment, but the compulsion was too strong. "The witch who bound you. Her name is Lydia. Though she has many aliases, she specializes in soul magic. Forbidden magic. The kind that can rip a wolf from its human and bind it to someone else's will." Horror washed over Mia. "She was trying to steal my wolf." "Not steal," Victor corrected. "Transfer. Your wolf is special, Mia. Daughter of a beta and third, both from ancient bloodlines. That kind of power, that kind of pedigree, it's valuable. Especially to someone like Lydia, who was born human and cursed with magic but no wolf of her own." "But the spell failed," Mia said. "I still have my wolf. She's awake now." "The spell didn't fail," Victor said. "It was interrupted. When your parents died, when the investigation started and Dane got nervous, we had to put the full ritual on hold. Lydia was only able to complete the binding portion, enough to suppress your wolf and make you weak, but not enough to actually transfer it. And now she's here to finish what she started," Liam said, his voice deadly quiet. "Not quite," Victor said. "Now that you've marked Mia, the dynamic has changed. Her wolf is connected to yours through the mate bond. Which means if Lydia completes the transfer ritual now, she gets access to both wolves," Mia finished, understanding dawning like horror. "Mine and Liam's. Not full access," Victor clarified. "But enough. Enough power to make herself nearly unstoppable. Enough to challenge the Alpha King himself." The cell went silent except for Mia's harsh breathing. Liam had gone absolutely still beside her, his control so tight she could feel it vibrating through the bond. "Where is she?" Liam asked. "Where is Lydia planning to perform this ritual? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?" Victor said. "And the answer I'm willing to trade for my life." "Your life is forfeit," Liam said flatly. "You ordered an ambush on your king. You conspired to murder pack members. You helped suppress my mate's wolf for 3 years. There is no scenario where you walk free or even continue breathing beyond the next few weeks." "Then I guess Lydia wins," Victor said with a shrug. "Pity. I really thought you valued your mate's life more than your pride." Liam moved so fast Mia barely saw it. One moment he was beside her, the next he had Victor slammed against the cell bars, his hand around the other alpha's throat. "Listen very carefully," Liam said, his voice soft and more terrifying than any shout. "I will not negotiate with you. I will not offer you leniency. But I will offer you one thing. A quick death instead of a slow one. Tell me where Lydia is, and I'll make sure your execution is swift and painless. Refuse, and I'll ensure you spend your last days wishing you'd died in Widow's Pass. Victor's face was turning purple, his eyes bulging. Liam held him for one more moment, then released him. The Alpha collapsed to the floor, gasping. The old temple, Victor wheezed. In the forest north of the city. It's been abandoned for 50 years, but Lydia has been using it as her base. She has wards, protections, probably a few surprises for anyone who tries to interrupt her. When is she planning to complete the ritual? Mia asked. Tonight, Victor said, rubbing his throat. At moonrise. That's the optimal time for soul magic, when the barrier between worlds is thinnest. Mia glanced at the window. The sun was already setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Moonrise was maybe 2 hours away. We need to go, she said to Liam. Now, we need a plan, Liam corrected. Charging in blindly against a witch who specializes in soul magic is suicide. Then we bring Nora, Mia said. She's more powerful than Lydia, isn't she? Probably, Liam admitted. But Lydia has had weeks to prepare her defenses. Home advantage is real in magical combat. So we even the odds, Mia said, an idea forming. Victor said Lydia wants my wolf because of my bloodline, right? Because of the power and pedigree. Yes, Victor confirmed from the floor. She's been obsessed with you for years. Even before Dane hired her, she'd been researching your family line. Then she wants me alive, Mia said. She needs me conscious and cooperative for the transfer ritual to work. Which means I can get close to her without her immediately trying to kill me. Absolutely not, Liam said. You are not offering yourself as bait. I'm not offering, Mia said. I'm telling you what's going to happen. You and Nora and your guards can attack from the outside, break through her defenses. I'll distract her from the inside, keep her focused on me so she doesn't see you coming. She'll bind you the moment you're in range, Liam argued. Trap you, suppress your wolf again. Not if I go willingly, Mia interrupted. Not if I pretend I want the ritual. That I'm angry at the council, angry at the politics, angry at having my life turned upside down. Lydia knows I was a servant for 3 years. She'll believe that I'm overwhelmed, that I want to go back to being simple and powerless. You're asking me to use you as bait, Liam said, and she could feel his agony through the bond. To let you walk into that temple alone and hope we get there in time. I'm asking you to trust me, Mia said softly. I'm asking you to believe that I'm strong enough to survive until you can reach me. And I'm asking you to remember that this witch stole 3 years of my life, helped murder my parents, and is now trying to steal my wolf and use me to hurt you. Her voice hardened. I deserve to be part of taking her down. Liam stared at her for a long moment. Through the bond, she felt his internal war, his need to protect her battling against his respect for her strength, his love for her fighting with his terror of losing her. Finally, he nodded. Together. We do this together. You go in first, distract her, but the moment you feel threatened, the moment she tries to bind you, you fight back with everything you have and we come in. Agreed. Agreed, Mia said. From the cell floor, Victor laughed, a bitter, broken sound. You're both going to die. Lydia is too powerful, too prepared. But at least you'll die together. How romantic. Liam ignored him, already pulling Mia toward the door. We need to move. Elena, gather 20 of our best warriors. Nora needs to be briefed immediately. And someone find out everything we can about that old temple, layout, weak points, anything that might help. As they hurried through the corridors, Mia's heart pounded with a mixture of fear and anticipation. In 2 hours, this would all be over. Either Lydia would be defeated and Mia would finally be free of the conspiracy that had stolen her life, or they'd all be dead. Not helpful, her wolf observed. I know, Mia thought. But true. They found Nora in her chambers, already preparing supplies with the efficiency of someone who'd been expecting this. I heard about Victor's confession, she said without preamble. And I felt the magical surge from the forest about an hour ago. Lydia is definitely preparing something big. Can you break through her defenses? Liam asked. Maybe, Nora said. Probably. But it'll take time, and time is the one thing we don't have. She turned to Mia. You're really going through with this insane plan. Do you have a better one? Mia challenged. Several, actually, but none that don't involve waiting for backup from the Council's Mage Division, which would take at least a day. Nora sighed. Fine, but you listen to me very carefully, Mia. Soul magic is dangerous. If Lydia gets even partial control of your wolf, it will hurt. Not just physically, but spiritually. You'll feel like you're being torn apart from the inside. And if she completes the ritual before we can stop her, you might not come back from it intact. Noted, Mia said, though the words sent ice through her veins. One more thing, Nora added, pulling a small vial from her robes. This is essence of Rowan. It won't protect you from soul magic directly, but it'll make it harder for her to fully bind you. Drink it right before you enter the temple. Mia took the vial, tucking it carefully into her bodice. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Nora said grimly. Thank me when we're all alive tomorrow and Lydia is dead. The old temple loomed against the darkening sky like a broken tooth. It had clearly been magnificent once. White marble columns, intricate carvings of wolves and moons, a domed roof that still held traces of silver inlay. But 50 years of abandonment had taken their toll. Vines covered the walls, the roof had partially collapsed, and the once grand entrance was now just a gaping darkness. And surrounding it all, Mia could feel the magic. It pressed against her skin like oil, making her wolf snarl with instinctive hatred. Last chance to back out, Liam said quietly. They were hidden in the tree line, watching the temple from a distance. His warriors were positioned around the perimeter, waiting for his signal. Nora was with them, already beginning the process of dismantling Lydia's wards from the outside. Not backing out, Mia said. She pulled out the vial Nora had given her and downed it in one swallow. It tasted like fire and earth and something wild that made her wolf surge forward with sudden strength. I love you, Liam said suddenly, fiercely. No matter what happens in there, no matter what you have to do or say to keep yourself alive, I love you. And I will come for you. I promise. I love you too, Mia said, then kissed him hard enough to bruise. Now let me go before I lose my nerve. She pulled away before he could respond, shifting into her wolf form and padding out of the trees toward the temple. She'd made it maybe 20 feet when a voice called out from the darkness. Mia Gray, I've been waiting for you. Lydia stepped out of the temple entrance, and Mia's wolf nearly bolted. The witch was tall and thin, with long silver hair that moved in a wind Mia couldn't feel. Her eyes were completely black, no whites, no iris, just endless darkness that seemed to swallow light. And the power rolling off her was suffocating, ancient, wrong. I see you've awakened your wolf, Lydia continued, her voice pleasant despite the horror of her appearance. Good. That will make the transfer so much easier. Mia shifted back to human form, grateful that she'd worn a simple dress that survived the transformation. You're right, she said, putting every ounce of bitterness she could muster into her voice. I did awaken my wolf. And do you know what I discovered? That being the Alpha King's mate is just another form of imprisonment. Another cage. Another role I never asked for. Lydia's expression shifted. Surprise, then interest. Go on. You bound my wolf 3 years ago, Mia said, forcing herself to walk forward, to move closer to the woman who'd stolen years of her life. You made me weak, made me powerless, and you know what? I was happier. I didn't have to deal with pack politics or council sessions or assassination attempts. I just cleaned and survived, and that was enough. And now, Lydia prompted. Now I'm supposed to be a queen, Mia said, infusing the word with contempt. I'm supposed to stand beside Liam and help him rule, and I don't want it. I never wanted it. I just want to be left alone. She was close now, close enough to smell the nightshade and copper that clung to Lydia's skin, close enough to see the excitement building in those black eyes. You want me to bind your wolf again, Lydia said slowly. You came here to ask me to make you powerless. I came here to ask you to take it, Mia said. My wolf, my power, all of it. You wanted it 3 years ago. I assume you still want it now. So take it. Free me from this burden I never asked for. For a long moment, Lydia just stared at her. Then she smiled, and it was the most terrifying thing Mia had ever seen. Oh, little Mia, Lydia purred. I knew you were special. Come inside. Let's begin. Okay, I am not breathing. Mia just walked into Lydia's temple alone and basically asked the witch to steal her wolf. And Liam is out there with the warriors waiting to strike, but what if they're too late? What if Lydia sees through the deception? The inside of the temple was worse than the outside. What had once been a sacred space dedicated to the moon goddess was now corrupted beyond recognition. The marble floor was carved with sigils that made Mia's eyes hurt to look at. The columns were wrapped in chains that hummed with dark magic, and at the center of it all sat a stone altar stained black with old blood. And everywhere, were bones. Wolf bones, arranged in careful patterns that pulsed with sickly green light. Beautiful, isn't it? Lydia said, spreading her arms wide. 50 years of preparation, gathering power, perfecting the ritual. And tonight, it all comes together. Mia forced herself to look around with feigned interest rather than the revulsion she felt. How does it work? The transfer ritual. Curious even now, Lydia said with what might have been approval. Very well. I'll explain while we prepare. It's not as if you can stop it once we begin. She gestured to the altar. The ritual requires a willing participant. Not willing in the sense that you want it to happen, but willing in that you don't actively resist. Your wolf must be compliant, calm, which is why I'm so pleased you came to me rather than forcing me to hunt you down. And what happens to me? Mia asked, moving closer to the altar. Through the bond, she could feel Liam's presence outside the temple, could feel his barely restrained fury and terror. She sent a pulse of reassurance. I'm okay. Still safe. Be ready. You lose your wolf, obviously, Lydia said, beginning to light candles around the altar's perimeter. The human part of you survives. I'm not a monster, despite what you might think. You'll go back to being exactly what you were before. Human, ordinary, unremarkable. Free from the burden of power, as you said. And you get my wolf, Mia said. And through the mate bond, access to Liam's power. Exactly. Lydia's black eyes gleamed with triumph. The mate bond is the key to everything. That's what made you so valuable, Mia. I've been tracking you for years, waiting for you to find your fated mate. I knew, we all knew, that you'd eventually bond with someone powerful. Your bloodline demanded it. But when you bonded with the Alpha King himself. She laughed, the sound sending shivers down Mia's spine. It was fate. Divine intervention. The perfect culmination of decades of planning. Mia asked, seizing on the word. You said, we all knew. Who else is involved? Lydia paused in her candle lighting, and for just a moment something flickered across her inhuman face. Doubt. Worry. Does it matter? She said finally. After tonight, they won't matter. I'll have the power of 2 ancient bloodlines flowing through me. I'll be unstoppable. But Mia had caught the hesitation, had seen the crack in Lydia's confidence. The witch wasn't working alone, there was someone else, someone she feared or answered to. And based on Nathan's final words, someone high up in the power structure. Liam, Mia thought through the bond. There's someone else. Someone Lydia answers to. Someone she's afraid of. I know, Liam's voice echoed back, tight with barely controlled rage. Nora almost has the outer wards down. Hold on just a little longer. Lie on the altar, Lydia commanded, and the pleasant facade dropped away entirely. Her voice held compulsion now, magical weight that pressed against Mia's mind. Mia's wolf snarled, wanting to resist, wanting to shift and fight. But she forced herself to comply, climbing onto the cold stone altar and lying back. The moment her skin touched the blood-stained surface, pain shot through her entire body. This altar had witnessed suffering, years, decades, maybe centuries of it. And now it wanted to add Mia's pain to the collection. Perfect, Lydia murmured, pulling out a curved silver knife that gleamed with dark enchantments. Now, this is going to hurt. I did promise honesty, after all. The soul-severing process is unpleasant. But it'll be over quickly, and then you'll be free. Isn't that what you wanted? She raised the knife, and Mia saw symbols carved into the blade start to glow. This was it. The moment where she either trusted that Liam would reach her in time, or died on this altar having accomplished nothing. Now, Mia sent through the bond. I can't hold her off anymore. Now. And then everything happened at once. The temple's outer wards shattered with a sound like breaking glass. Liam's roar, unmistakably alpha, unmistakably furious, echoed through the stone chamber. Warriors poured through the entrance, weapons drawn, magic crackling. And Lydia, who had been focused entirely on Mia, spun with a shriek of rage. You lied, she screamed, and the knife came down. Mia rolled, her wolf's instincts taking over. The blade missed her heart but caught her side, carving a deep gash that burned like liquid fire. She fell off the altar, shifted mid-fall, and her wolf hit the ground running. Lydia was already casting, her hands weaving patterns in the air that made reality bend and twist. Half of Liam's warriors went down immediately, trapped in magical bindings. The others pressed forward, but Lydia threw up a wall of green flame that sent them scrambling back. You think you can stop me? Lydia snarled, and her human facade was gone now, revealing something ancient and terrible beneath. I've been preparing this ritual for 50 years. I've sacrificed everything for this power. I will not be denied by some pathetic girl and her self-righteous mate. She threw a bolt of black energy at Mia, but Liam was there, his massive black wolf form intercepting the blast. It hit him full in the chest and he yelped, stumbling, but didn't go down. Mate hurt, Mia's wolf snarled. Make witch pay. Nora appeared in the entrance, her own power blazing purple and silver. Lydia, she called, stand down. You're outnumbered and outmatched. Am I? Lydia laughed, and the sound was madness given voice. She slammed her hands against the altar, and the bone patterns around the temple lit up like a circuit being completed. I don't need Mia willing anymore. I have her blood on my blade. That's enough. The ritual activated. Mia screamed, human even in wolf form, as something hooked into her chest and started pulling. Not her heart, not anything physical. Her soul, her wolf, everything that made her herself was being ripped away, drawn toward Lydia like water down a drain. No, Mia's wolf howled. No, mine, mine, but the magic was too strong, too old, fed by 50 years of preparation and the blood of countless victims. Mia felt herself fragmenting, felt her wolf being torn away from her human consciousness, felt the mate bond stretching and fraying as Lydia tried to sever it. Through the bond, she felt Liam's answering roar of agony. Whatever Lydia was doing to Mia, the mate bond meant he felt it too. His wolf was being pulled, his power being drained. They were both going to die here. On this altar, in this corrupted temple, victims of a conspiracy that stretched back decades. No, Mia thought desperately. Not like this. Not when we just found each other. And then she felt it. Something she'd been too frightened or too overwhelmed to notice before. The mate bond wasn't just one-directional. It didn't just let Liam give her his strength. It let her give him hers. And more than that, it let them combine their strength. Wolf with wolf. Power with power. Two halves becoming one whole. Liam, she thought, I have an idea, but you have to trust me. Always, came his immediate response, even through the pain. Don't fight the pull, Mia sent. Let Lydia think she's winning. Let her draw our wolves closer together through her ritual. And then, we use the mate bond to merge them, Liam finished, understanding instantly. Make ourselves one wolf instead of two. She can't steal what she can't separate. It was insane. It had probably never been done before. The mate bond allowed for deep connection, for sharing emotions and strength, but actually merging wolves. Becoming one consciousness, one entity. It should be impossible, but Mia had spent 3 years doing the impossible. Surviving without her wolf. Living through systematic abuse. Rising from servant to queen. What was one more impossibility? Together, she thought. Together, Liam agreed. They stopped fighting the pull. Let Lydia's magic draw their wolves closer. Let the ritual do exactly what it was designed to do, bring their souls into contact for the transfer. But instead of letting Lydia separate and steal them, they reached for each other. The mate bond, which had been a gentle thread before, became a rope. Then a chain. Then something stronger than iron or steel or stone, two souls choosing each other, claiming each other, refusing to be parted. Mia felt the moment their wolves touched. Felt Liam's consciousness brush against hers, felt their separate identities start to blur and merge. I love you, he whispered into her mind. I love you too, she answered. Now let's show this witch what happens when she messes with fated mates. They merged. It was glorious and terrifying and absolutely right. Suddenly Mia could feel everything Liam felt. 15 years of being Alpha King, of battles won and lost, of loneliness and duty and the desperate hope of finding his mate. And he felt everything she felt. 3 years of abuse and survival, of quiet strength and hidden courage, of choosing kindness even when the world was cruel. Their wolves became one, massive and silver-black, with gold eyes that blazed with combined power. Not Mia's wolf or Liam's wolf, but theirs. Something new and unprecedented and absolutely beyond Lydia's ability to steal. The witch realized what was happening too late. No, she shrieked, trying to reverse the ritual, trying to separate what had just unified. No, this is impossible. You can't. The merged wolf consciousness that was Mia and Liam opened its eyes and roared. The sound shattered the altar. Shattered the bone patterns. Shattered Lydia's carefully constructed wards and enchantments and 50 years of preparation. And more than that, it shattered Lydia herself. Her scream cut off abruptly as the backlash of her own broken ritual consumed her. For just a moment, her true form was visible, not the beautiful woman or the black-eyed witch, but something ancient and twisted and corrupt, something that had sacrificed its humanity decades ago in pursuit of power. Then she was ash, scattering across the corrupted temple floor. The merged consciousness separated, not violently, but gently, like waking from a shared dream. Suddenly Mia was herself again, her own wolf settling back into her own mind. And beside her, Liam was shifting back to human form, his gold eyes wide with wonder and residual connection. Did we? Mia started. Yeah, Liam breathed. We did. They stood there in the wreckage of the temple, surrounded by stunned warriors and Norris' approving smile, and just stared at each other. Then Liam was crossing the space between them, pulling her into his arms, and kissing her like she was air and he'd been drowning. Don't ever do something that insane again, he said against her lips. Don't ever let me, Mia shot back. Deal. Elena cleared her throat from the entrance. Your Majesty, the temple is secure. Lydia is dead. And we found something in her chambers you need to see. Still holding Mia's hand, Liam followed Elena to a small antechamber off the main ritual space. Inside, covering every surface, were documents, letters, ledgers, and at the center of it all, a list of names. The conspiracy wasn't just Nathan Cross and a few corrupt alphas. It was 12 names, 12 members of the council. Every single one of them. The council chamber looked different when you knew every person in it was a traitor. Mia sat beside Liam on the raised platform, her hand in his, and watched the 12 alphas fidget and whisper and try to maintain their innocent facades. They didn't know yet that Lydia was dead. Didn't know that all their secrets had been laid bare. I've called this emergency session, Liam began, his voice carrying easily through the chamber, to address a significant development in our investigation. Have you found proof that we're innocent? Zane Morrison demanded, though there was an edge of nervousness to his voice that hadn't been there before. I've found proof, Liam said calmly. But not of innocence. He gestured, and Elena's warriors brought in boxes, dozens of them, filled with Lydia's documents. They placed them in the center of the chamber, a mountain of evidence that couldn't be denied. The which Lydia kept meticulous records, Liam continued. Every payment. Every meeting, every alpha who helped fund Dane's operation, who provided resources for illegal activities, who turned a blind eye to corruption in exchange for a piece of the profit. He pulled out a single sheet of paper and held it up. This is a list of everyone involved in the conspiracy to suppress my mate's wolf, to murder her parents, and to embezzle millions from their own packs. His eyes swept the assembled alphas. Every single name on this list is someone sitting in this chamber right now. The silence was deafening. You're bluffing, Sophia Chen said, but her voice was shaking. You're trying to frighten us into confessing to crimes we didn't commit. Your name is third on the list, Alpha Chen, Liam interrupted. You provided the Southern Witches with transportation across your territory. You received 200,000 in silver for your assistance. He turned to Zane Morrison. You knew about Dane's embezzlement and said nothing because you were running a similar operation in your own pack. You were afraid an investigation would expose you. One by one, he named them all. Detailed their crimes. Showed evidence that couldn't be refuted. And with each name, each revelation, Mia felt something in her chest loosen. These were the people who'd stolen her life. Who'd murdered her parents. Who'd condemned her to 3 years of suffering. And now they would pay. The Council of Alphas is hereby dissolved, Liam declared. You are all under arrest for conspiracy, embezzlement, murder, and treason against the crown. You will stand trial before a tribunal of neutral alphas from other regions. And if found guilty, which you will be, you will face the full punishment of the law. You can't do this, Nathan Cross shouted, standing. The council is the foundation of our government. Without us, your authority is meaningless. My authority comes from the moon goddess and the packs who swore loyalty to my bloodline, Liam said coldly. The council was meant to advise, not to rule. And corrupted advisors are worse than no advisors at all. He nodded to his guards. Take them. The arrests were swift and brutal. Some alphas went quietly, others fought and had to be subdued with magic and force. But within minutes, every single member of the council was in chains, being led to the dungeons beneath the building. As Nathan was dragged past the platform, he paused, meeting Mia's eyes one last time. You should have stayed broken, he hissed. You've doomed us all. No, Mia said quietly. I saved us all. You just can't see it yet. When the chamber was finally empty except for Liam's loyal warriors and advisors, Nora approached the platform with a tired smile. Well, she said, that was dramatic. Is it over? Mia asked. Really over. The conspiracy is broken, Nora confirmed. Lydia is dead, the corrupt council members are arrested, and the evidence against them is overwhelming. There will be trials, investigations, restructuring of the government. But yes, Mia, the danger to you specifically is over. Mia sagged against Liam, suddenly exhausted. I can't believe it. After everything, you're free, Liam finished. We both are. 3 months later. The new council chamber was smaller, more intimate than the old one. Only 8 seats this time, carefully vetted alphas from across North America who'd proven their integrity and loyalty. The old system of 12 had been too large, too easy to hide corruption in. Mia stood at the window, watching the sun set over Silvercrest, and marveled at how much had changed in such a short time. Shadowpine had a new alpha. A young woman named Kara who'd been promoted from her position as a servant, someone who understood what it meant to be overlooked and undervalued. The pack was thriving under her leadership, the stolen funds returned and distributed fairly. Dane and his conspirators had been tried and executed. Ashley had been stripped of her rank and exiled, last seen heading for human territories where she could no longer rely on pack protection or her father's wealth. And Mia herself. You're thinking too hard, Liam said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. I can feel it through the bond. I'm thinking about how different my life is now, Mia admitted. 3 months ago, I was chained in a village square, waiting to die. Now I'm Queen of North America, Liam finished. Beloved by your people, feared by my enemies, and absolutely terrifying in council sessions when you call out an alpha's nonsense. Mia laughed. I do enjoy that. I noticed, Liam said dryly. You made Alpha Thomas cry last week. He was trying to deny pack members their right to challenge for rank, Mia defended. He deserved it. I'm not arguing, Liam assured her. I'm just saying my quiet, gentle mate has turned into something of a political force. Your fault for marking me, Mia teased. Best decision I ever made, Liam said seriously, turning her in his arms. Marrying you yesterday was a close second. The wedding had been small by royal standards, just a few hundred guests instead of thousands. But it had been perfect. Mia in a silver dress that made her look like moonlight given form. Liam in formal regalia that emphasized every inch of alpha authority. And their wolves, merged once more for the ceremony in a display of unity that had left everyone in attendance speechless. I have something for you, Liam said now, pulling a small wooden box from his pocket. Mia opened it and gasped. Inside was a silver pendant shaped like two wolves, one black, one white, intertwined together, their forms inseparable. It's beautiful, she breathed. It's us, Liam said simply. What we did in that temple, merging our wolves, it's never been done before. Nora thinks we created something new. A bond deeper than any mate connection in history. He fastened the pendant around her neck. So I wanted you to have something to remember it by. To remember that no matter what happens, we're stronger together than apart. Mia touched the pendant, feeling the magic humming faintly within the silver. I love it. I love you. I love you too, Liam said. My impossible, incredible, absolutely terrifying mate. They stood there in the fading sunlight, two halves of one whole, and Mia felt something she hadn't felt in years, peace. She was home, not in a place, but in a person. In the bond that connected her to Liam, in the strength of her newly awakened wolf, in the role she'd carved for herself as someone who spoke for the voiceless and fought for the overlooked. 3 years of darkness, 3 months of chaos, and now, finally, light. Thank you, Mia thought to her wolf. For never giving up, for fighting through the suppression, for being strong enough to wake when I needed you most. Thank you, her wolf responded, for being brave enough to survive until I could return. For being worthy of the Alpha King. For choosing us both. What are you thinking about? Liam asked. The future, Mia said. And, we did it. We went from Mia being chained and tortured in a village square to her being the Queen of North America married to the Alpha King. Now I need to know, what was your absolute favorite moment from this entire story? Was it when they first felt the mate bond? When Mia forced her first shift to save Liam? When she confronted Nathan in front of the entire council? Tell me in the comments because I genuinely want to know what resonated with you.